It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live.
Live.
Wild Earth takes you on daily intimate experiences in nature live.
This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Join expert guides as they search for Africa's most iconic animals.
How awesome is this? She's coming right past our vehicle. Take a closer look here.
Oh, careful. Oh, no.
Ask your host questions and have them answered in real time. Join us live every day on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, everyone, and another lovely afternoon. Welcome to the Masai Mara. That's where I am, and welcome to your afternoon, a live safari. Jumbo, everyone, another lovely afternoon, and we expect no rain. That I can start with that, because I can. There is zero chances of having rain. Welcome to Masai Mara. We are in the Mara Triangle, and to start with, I have a tower or a journey of giraffes that have actually parked themselves here or stopped, and looks like they have something they're discussing, which I cannot tell, but it looks like, they are enjoying their eating or ruminating this afternoon. Very good afternoon. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. This afternoon I'm in search of more lions, especially Bahati and her mother, and I hope she's around here. To start with, we have giraffes, but before that, remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. Also, you can send in, your kids' question at Wild Earth TV. Tree lime, Jumbo. And good afternoon. I don't know what time it is where you are, but it's a beautiful afternoon here. You want to find out who has got the longest gestation period, giraffe or elephant? Definitely the elephant between those two. The giraffe is around 14 months, and the elephant is 22 months. So there is a big difference. Mind you, the elephant is much larger, but still the giraffe is the tallest mammal and also has a very, long gestation period. These ones here, majority of them are females, and it's such a unique setting or sight to see them just stopped and just chewing their cud, concentrating and looking, in the plains. It's it's a slightly high spot where they are, so it's an elevated spot for them to see all around in case there is danger. Remember, this is an animal that was declared endangered last year, and there is only about over 100,000 left in the whole world. Main threat facing them is habitat loss and also poaching. Well, I'm gonna stick here for a little bit. Let's take you to another live location.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands here in South Africa, as our Birchall starling greets you this afternoon in the shade. It's going to be one of those kind of days. It's very, very warm. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by Theo Islandstyle on camera, and we are very excited to have you with us. Now, we've pulled into some shade here on Buffelshoek because, as I said, it's very, very hot. And what I'm going to show you is the largest buffalo thorn tree I've ever seen in my life. Now, we came across around the road here. I don't know Buffelshoek very well, but this area is called Secret Clearing. Look at this tree. I have never in my life seen a buffalo thorn of this size, so I'm going to give her a little hug. It's a splendid Ziziphus mucronata, the blinkblad of Wachabiki for those Afrikaans speakers out there. Look at this guy. He just needs a little bit of love. If you've never hugged a tree before, everybody, I highly recommend it. The energy and the presence of these trees. This guy's been standing here looking out over these plains for who knows how long. I don't even know how old this fellow could be. But the shade he's provided, the amount of animals that have sought refuge underneath this tree, just like we have done, there must be multiple amounts. And that's the large animals. We've got insects, we've got birds, the starlings enjoying the shade. And what a splendid fellow. Now, I can't say I've ever seen a buffalo thorn of this nature before. It's possible the exclusion of elephants from this area a very long time ago might have allowed certain trees to get big. In Torchwood, there's some very big torchwoods there as well. Elephants do eat these trees. They do damage them quite a lot. And so often when you do find them, they've been sort of pruned down by animals like giraffe and kudu, and then elephants will break their branches, leaving them on the floor. But what a splendid tree. I actually thought it was maybe a scotia or a boerbean or something like that, but getting closer to it, it is not. Okay, no hummingbirds in South Africa. Hummingbirds are exclusively from North America as far as I'm aware. We do get lots of sunbirds, but no hummingbirds in South Africa. Not indigenous anyway. But this nice open area, we can just pan out over the secret clearing. And we're going to be searching the water points on Buffelshoek today and looking in the shade for some of the animals.
Well, my giraffes are still in the same pasture and are looking at me intensely. Well, remember that giraffes are well adapted to the life in savanna and can go for long periods without water. They can drink water wherever it's available and can go for very long periods, so they only drink it when it's necessary, when they can find it. Of course, they do find a little bit of it in all the leaves they consume, plus the leaves they eat early in the morning, so they get a bit of water in that, but they can go for a very long time without water. This is a pure browser, an animal that only eats leaves. It fills its large intestine, and then when it's full, automatically stops and behaves the way they're doing right now, at one spot for very long and chew their cud. A moonbeam, Jumbo, what a name, beautiful name, moonbeam. Do giraffes have a favorite tree or bush? I would say no, because I've been in different habitats, and whatever is available, they go for it. Over here, it's a mixture of different types of trees, from the croton to the what we call it diasparas, to others like Mairuas, to others like Solanums. You know, there's so many. And in other areas, like the other side of the Mara, we do find acacias, and we have almost 60 different types of acacias. But the common ones, we have Gerard's acacia, orange, yellow-backed acacia, acacia kiki, whistling acacia, and they feed on that. In Sulus in Tanzania, I was there sometimes back, and they love the jacoberry tree, the marula tree, and others. So it differs from one area to the other. I wouldn't say they have a favorite bush that they like. So it's just, whatever is available is what they go for. Just have a look at that giraffe busy chewing cud. When it swallows, just watch, at the angle where the neck meets the head, and you'll see. Now it's gone down. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. There, it has come back. Automatically, it's got a mechanism that shoots a fresh ball up and straight to the mouth, ready to be properly chewed and utilized before it goes back to the reticulum, and where after that it's taken to the omasum and then the obasum, and then it comes out as in pellets, small balls, and it is very dry because they utilize all the water and nutrients in that poop, so there is nothing that is left, and that's why they're very adapted. Yeah, so, they utilize everything in leaves, including water and all the nutrients. Looking at that head of a giraffe, there is a few things that are very clear. It's got some of the longest eyelashes. Those are to defend it or protect it from being, prickled by, bushes and twigs getting into the eye. The long proboscis, or on the lips there, are for, they're being used like fingers to pluck leaves. And the ears are in a point where they're not up, they're not low, they're somewhere where they can be folded, and so they can go through bushes without any interference. This is a female. You can tell by its horns, which are not actually true horns, because if you look clearly, they have skin around them, and so heart, was it heart? Sorry, excuse me if I didn't pronounce it or get it, but you did ask if two giraffes can kill each other. Well, killing each other is one thing, but they can hurt each other. Hurting each other has been known badly. I've seen them hit each other so hard that they rip off the skin from the neck. But I witnessed about 2 years ago where two giraffes both died due to exhaustion from a fight. I believe they were so tired, one tried to hit the other, and while it was falling, fell on the other one, and so the other one couldn't stand up, and so both died from exhaustion from trying to get away from one another. So it's never been witnessed where they've killed one another. I can be corrected about that, but I myself have seen them, die from extreme exhaustion. Yeah, just enjoy that sight while we take you to another live location.
Welcome back to Buffelshoek, everybody. I'm Paula, hiding in the shade here. We're going to need to seek some shade ourselves because it is cooking. It's very early. Sunshine beating down. You'll find all the animals this afternoon are going to be sheltering in the shade. Spends a lot of energy hanging out in the sunshine to cool oneself. Requires more moisture. So we'll be looking in the tall green marula trees for leopards perched. They might not have meals. It's just a nice cool place to hang out as the breeze cools them down. And the shady gullies as well. riverine drainage depressions. And as I said before, we're going to go check the watering holes. There's a couple big watering holes just around the corner. So we might find animals going to drink, but it might still be a bit early in the day for them to do so. But we'll certainly find some hippos. But maybe, just maybe, we'll be lucky enough to find some elephants that are over the heat and are quite keen to swim. That can often be really, really cool to witness. If you've never seen elephants swimming, it is an absolute pleasure to do so. But these impala are not eating. They have probably fed earlier, filled their belly with food, and then one of the benefits of being a ruminant is you can then just go hang out in the shade and then re-chew the cud and to sort of process the food that you have already collected. It means that they can avoid being out in the sun when the conditions are harsh and spend those times in the shade. The shade is such an important element to the evolution and adaptation of many of the animals out here, and we wouldn't have the species diversity we have if it wasn't for the savanna shade trees.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve this afternoon. And we've come out to where we left those cheetah this morning, and we've found them in the same spot. And just like Steve was talking about the shade, have a look at what they're doing there, lying in the shade. But very exciting. You might see there's a little Inyala kill there. So sometime during the day, how exciting is that? These cheetah managed to catch an Inyala. And so this afternoon, my name is Grant, and behind the camera is Gert. And yeah, we've come out to the exact same spot. This is actually right where we saw them chase. For those of you that were with us this morning, this is where we saw Mom chase a herd of Inyala. And then they went and settled down about 150 to 200 meters away from here. And then we've come straight back this afternoon, and it looks like Mom or one of the three of them were successful in catching an Inyala. So apologies for any of our sensitive viewers, but we've tried to park in the nicest way possible to the Inyala. You can see that little patch of red where the cheetah have already started to feed, and Gert and I were just discussing how recently this must have happened, and it can only have been an hour or maybe 2 hours ago, because they've only eaten that soft rump piece of the Inyala. And so if you look at the cheetah, the one on the far right in the shade, you'll see she's panting quite intensely, and that's the mom, and I think she might have been the one that caught the Inyala. So our hombre is asking, do cheetah go after birds like guinea fowl? And I've never seen it, and in my experience I've actually haven't heard of it. The cubs might try and chase them for fun as a game maybe, but yeah, I've never heard of or seen cheetah catching any kind of birds. I guess they don't have the ambush abilities of something like a leopard. A leopard would try to ambush birds, so they would lie in a position where the birds might come towards them or come past them, and then they can quickly pounce and go for them. They also have the genetic adaptation. I'm talking about leopards now. They have the genetic adaptation for catching. So their claws are very different to cheetah's claws. Cheetah's claws are only semi-retractable, so they're always sitting partially out of the paw. And for that reason, their claws tend to be quite a lot more blunt than a leopard's claws. A leopard's claws are very, very sharp and hooked. And that's because they rely on their ability to catch something, so to use their big front paws and actually grab a hold of their prey and catch it and hold on to it as tight as they can with both of their paws and pull it down. Sorry about that. And so cheetahs, on the other hand, they only have one claw that is hooked like that, and that's the dew claw, which is slightly higher up on their paw or on their leg, and that they use when they're hooking their prey that they're chasing in the ankle tapping action that they do to bring down their prey, so they can't catch. But yeah, myself and Gert, we are going to be going nowhere because we're really excited to see if these cheetah get up and feed. So we're going to send you off to another location.
Well, my giraffes are on the move. It is evident, as you can see. Yeah, they are moving, they are leaving this area. Something seems to have caught their attention and they have decided to leave the area. Giraffes can walk long distances in search of water, but over here they don't. In fact, I rarely see them drinking. And they can run at top speeds of up to 60 and can kick really well, both hind and forequarters. Mind you, and remember that giraffes have got one of the highest blood pressures of most animals, and you can understand why. It's to be able to pump enough blood towards the upper side of its body, the brain, and apart from that they can weigh up to around 1,700 in males, females about 1,400. And for defense, a giraffe can kick with both hind and forequarters. Poor guy looks like he's full of something. Yeah, they seems to be heading somewhere. They are on a mission. Mission, get out of here. Something is lacking. Not a good place to be in. Look at that beautiful sight. Yeah, that's a good tower, this one. And looks like they want to leave this spot. They don't want to stay here at all. I don't blame them. If there is lions, you have to leave. Yes, looks like they are gone and they're leaving the area. I don't blame them. If there is lions, it's not a good area to be in, especially where there's some young ones. So Sarah, did you say stumps in the head, specific names? They're not true horns, they're called ossicons. Ossicons. So they're not true horns because horns are made up of compressed hairs, just very much like our fingernails, made of keratin. And these are bone that is a growth from the skull, and then it's got skin around it, so it is very different. It is not a horn. They're called ossicons. Mind you, they can break during fighting. Sometimes they hit each other so hard that they break them. Yeah, that is a beautiful meeting there of all of them. And looks like they are being very careful while they leave the area. Seems like they must have spotted a lion, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna continue on and find maybe if there is a lion nearby.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinned, everyone. And we just had a look up in the trees, and we've seen this eagle sitting here, and it is giving us the cold shoulder at the moment. Every now and then it's turning its head, but if you look nice and carefully, you'll see it's got a yellow base to the beak with a black tip, and then the body overall is very mottled brown, lots of different shades of brown. And we are still at the cheetah carcass, well, at the nyala carcass with the cheetah, sorry. And that eagle has been attracted or brought here by that dead nyala. It must have spotted it from up in the sky, and has come down to investigate, but it is perched up in the tree because of the fact that the cheetahs are here. Now that is a tawny eagle, and it is it's common that it scavenges, but it is a bird of prey, and it can hunt for itself, but obviously if there's an opportunity for a quick free meal, they'll definitely take that opportunity, even if it means waiting the whole afternoon. It is a beautiful bird of prey. So that tawny eagle I'll get back to the tawny eagle just in a bit, but Lucas is asking what is the lifespan of a cheetah, and Lucas, that again, it varies a little bit, but in the wild I would say generally cheetah can make it to about 14 years old, so typically 12 to 14 years, but when I say it depends on the situation, like there's lots and lots of threats to cheetah out in the wild, so it's very rare actually that a cheetah makes it to dying of old age. There's so many threats out here that can get them before they reach that, but yeah, if a cheetah is lucky 14 years, and then in captivity they are capable of living a lot longer when they have a relatively stress-free life, regular food, so they put their bodies through, well, they don't put their bodies through, but their bodies go through immense sort of difficulty when they are deprived of food, and so it wears them down. And so of course in the wild they're not going to last as long as they do in captivity. That's a pretty common trend, but yeah, I'll say it's usually around 12-14 years. So, yeah, myself and Gert are not going to be going anywhere. We're really, really keen to see these cheetah be a little bit more active, hopefully feed, because we did sit with them for such a long time this morning, and we actually watched the hunt, so we would love to complete the full story by seeing them actually feeding a little bit. So we're going to send you off to another location now, but we're not going anywhere.
Hello everybody and welcome over to Buffelshoek once again, where we've stopped to smell the flowers and beautiful little string of stars that we've gone and picked and perched on the dashboard. Now remember everybody, wildflowers are often not too available or too abundant, so be very careful harvesting them because you could be deemed to be poaching. But these are plentiful. The string of stars, the Heliotropium studneri. Now heliotropium means basically helio, the sun, and tropium, to move. So they actually follow the sun, and don't they look like wonderful little string of stars there? Several butterfly species will feed on the nectar of these plants. There's a very nice alkaloid inside called lycopsamine, which is what gives this plant enormous amounts of medicinal properties. Namely, the leaves. You can apply juice from the leaves to cuts and injuries you might have on the skin, and they will actually stop the bleeding and prevent infection. An infusion of the leaves as well can be applied to bruises on the skin, and it will help obviously with some of that. And leaf drops have been used in the past for conjunctivitis in cattle, so it's possible humans could use it as well. Conjunctivitis is pink eye, everybody, if you weren't sure. But very, very, very common plants around. Heliotropium, studneri, the beautiful little string of stars. You often find the milkweed grasshoppers feeding on these plants as well, and it's possible that they also get a little bit of their toxicity from this flower as well, because not much eats those grasshoppers. Elsa, you want to know if there's a sweet smell? There's not really any smell. I'm going to give it a little sniff then for you. I have smelt them before, but there's nothing too major in it. There's nothing overly crazy in the smell there. But then I have picked another plant which has got no flower on at the moment. But this one, I only know the old scientific name. Very hard to tell, but it gets this beautiful purple flowerlet at the end there. But you just have to touch the leaves gently like this. Just gently like that. Don't crush it. And then you take and you smell that. It smells like Thai green curry. This old scientific name I know for this is called hemizygia. I know there's a new one. I've forgotten it. I can't remember it. But hemizygia, there's no species name, just a genus name. And it smells initially like Thai green curry. If you crush it, it's so overwhelmingly strong, you can't actually smell what's going on. And after a period of time, it starts to smell like ripe peaches. Delicious. Absolutely. This plant makes me hungry whenever I smell it. It is absolutely gorgeous and delicious. There's no flowers on it at the moment, but I did find a whole lot of them in one spot, hence why I picked a small amount. And you shouldn't often pick wildflowers, everybody. Leave them to do their business. Their job is to be pollinated and provide a seed, and then to carry on the life cycle of the species.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinde, everyone. And there has not been any changes just yet. And I can tell you that it is extremely hot, and you can see the cheetah are going for what little shade there is out here, and I do feel for them, but I can feel their pain physically. Myself and Gert have absolutely no shade here. But we are determined to get a look at to hopefully see the cheetah coming out of the bushes there and coming to feed, hopefully. So we've just seen a little bit of movement behind Mom there. So that's Mom on the far right, and then that's one of the youngsters on the left. And just behind Mom, behind that bush, is the second cub. And there's quite a lot of flies actually starting to gather around the nyala. And what is quite interesting is that Mom hasn't actually covered up the carcass, or even attempted to.
from sleeping cheetahs to me driving. I'm heading towards where I saw two of the MASH 5 male lions, and one of them was mating with the river lioness, which was quite odd for me because she's got cubs, but lions have been known, or lionesses have been known to be, submissive and to allow themselves to mate with males so that they can buy time for their cubs to survive with the other females, and then sometimes they'll sneak away and get back to the cubs. And I think this was what was happening. So I'm heading there to see if one of those males is still mating with Halftail, the lioness from the River Pride. It has been very interesting with our lions here at the Mara Triangle, because originally the River Pride and Olololo Pride were dominated by Halftail and Fang, and we know that Halftail somehow died, and then Fang, who is also called Blondie, was chased away by the Chelly brothers, who is one of them is Olalashe. And when he chased Fang, he adopted the oldest son of Kipuli, who was the dominant male to the Owinos, and now they are dominating Olololo and River Pride, but now the MASH Pride 5 have come in and taken over. So there is a lot of internal politics amongst lions going on here, if you allow me to use that word. And it's going to be very interesting, for me to find out if he's still mating with this lioness.
Welcome back to and beyond Pinde, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the scenes of the Mara Triangle, a place that I really want to go to one day. We are still here with the cheetah and the tawny eagle. So Elsa is asking, how do we tell the difference between the male and the female? And it's really, really difficult. They look alike or very, very similar. There's not too much difference in what their sort of plumage colors are, but the female is definitely larger. So just based on, this bird looks quite bulky, quite heavy. But even in that, the males and the females, there's about 100 to 200 grams difference in the bird. So I've had a good look at my bird book, and the male's weight is about 1.8 kilograms, and the female's weight is about 2 kilograms. So a 200 gram difference in the size, but the female, she appears to be slightly larger than the male, but in terms of the plumage, there is not much difference at all. And the interesting thing about the tawny eagles is that they come in a number of different shades of brown. And if you have a quick look at my bird book, I don't know, for those of you that haven't seen one before, there is a good example of all the different colors that the tawny eagle actually occurs in. So that whole page is dedicated to the tawny eagle, and you'll see there's very many different variations in the shades of brown. Sinak is asking how big tawny eagles' nests are, and they are pretty big. I'm trying to think of an example of what I can compare it to. It almost would be like a... sure, what can I compare it to? It would be like, I guess, the width of like a small garden chair, I guess. Yeah, maybe, or like how's this? A ring or a blow up pool floating device. So like a tube, like a ring that you get in the pool. Say as about the width of that, but then in height it can be a meter high. So it's like a very big stack of branches, and they place it on top of a tree, or like right on top of the canopy. So they'll find a relatively flat tree. Unlike some of the other birds that will build it in the fork of a tree, they'll build it on top of a flat tree, and yeah, the nest can be pretty big. So Shane, that's a good question. So the steppe and the tawny eagle, the biggest differences that you'll see with the tawny and the steppe eagle is the bill. So the bill is the same in terms of the colors. They both have got black tip and then a yellow base, but the steppe eagle's bill is quite a bit bigger in terms of the height of the bill. So the length is more or less the same, so the distance that its bill is away from its face, but the height of the bill, the steppe eagle has quite a bit bigger. And then the steppe eagle has a dark colored eye, whereas the tawny eagle has a brown, or like in the book, let me see, it's described as a honey-colored eye, versus the steppe eagle having a very dark brown, almost black eye. And then the steppe eagle's gape, so the gape of the mouth goes, so the yellow part actually goes past the eye. But on the tawny eagle, that gape of the mouth stops in line with the eye. So we are going to just wait it out here. We're not going anywhere, and we're going to send you off to another location.
Probably too hot for them to start eating, but this time of day, I know what I would be doing if I was living out here and it was hot. I would probably be cooking this plant and making it into a lovely dish. What you're looking at here, everybody, is locally known to the locals as gushu. It's a highly nutritious plant that is very well eaten, and many of the locals will actually walk through the bush and harvest this naturally from the veld, from the ground. I just picked a small little sprig off of the ground, and you see this beautiful little yellow flower. It's probably attracting bees and beetles for pollination. But the leaves, you can see the leaves, these long sort of jagged leaves here. It grows quite close to the ground with these long sort of pods that are developing back towards the back over there. You'll see these long like little bean pods, which probably makes it close to a legume, but I'm not 100% sure. All legumes have got a sort of bean pod, but very, very edible, and it's cooked like a spinach. You'll just chop up all these leaves, put them into a bowl, in the pot should I say, a little bit of water, water and boil. And it gets quite mucilaginous, which means it gives like a bit of a soapy sort of feel to it, but very, very tasty. And even the ladies who work with us here will harvest this stuff and eat on a regular basis as opposed to normal shop-bought spinach. Now, the roots themselves can also be dried, and the powder can be rubbed into cuts as well to heal your cuts, sort of also like a disinfectant, and it's even been known to be used to treat the area around a snake bite. Obviously, if you do ever get bitten by a snake, I highly recommend going to the hospital, but it has been used in the past for such matters. Apparently, by eating it as well, it makes you quite hungry, so it's an appetite increaser. So if you're not that hungry, eat some of these. It'll increase your appetite and you'll probably want some more. A beautiful plant, isn't it? The gushu, Conchorus aspleniifolius. A very, very nice plant we find locally around here. And I'm going to swap it out with another beautiful plant just next to it. You can see the difference in the shape. And look at that beautiful shape, that heart-shaped leaf of the elephant ear, also known as a butylon. Very commonly known as a butylon, the rich man's toilet paper. These small little leaves are very, very soft. Ladies could use them as pads for removing makeup around the eye, an organic way of removing them. They're also edible, so not only can you wipe yourself, you can also eat them. They're very tasty. It needs to be cooked though. I've eaten them. We did a bit of a cook-off last year, or earlier this year, with all of these plants, and I'll be honest, it wasn't the nicest eating this, but it is edible. It can be used raw or cooked, and apparently it's a cure for hiccups, which is something that I often get. So I haven't tested it to see if it works, but decoctions of this plant have been used for pneumonia or to treat pneumonia, as well as coughs, and infusions have been used to treat heartache. So a wonderful plant. You can also make a bit of a fibre out of the bark, but it's not very good. It's not the best fibre in the world, but wonderful to see all of these wonderful plants out, edible and human uses.
Welcome back to Ambion Pinda. I did not know you could use plants to remove makeup. Definitely learned something new today. And look at this, guys, it is finally happening. So once again, apologies to any of the more sensitive viewers. Now would be the time to look away. That this cub has now, I think it's feeling cool enough and he's rested enough to come and have round two. I'll just watch the way that it feeds for those of you that haven't seen it before. Oopsie. He will grab a big chunk of meat with the front teeth. So the canines and the smaller ones in between the canines on the top and bottom jaw, and pull at it, try to loosen a piece of meat, and then run the side of its face along that piece of meat and cut it off and actually swallow that whole piece.
We have decided to wait in the shade here because it's an incredibly hot day, and I'm sure most of the animals will be doing the same. And we decided to talk about this tree. I don't know when the last time you ever spoke about this tree or saw this tree, but this is a tamboti. So you can see those beautifully scalloped leaves and the gorgeous shady area that it creates up in this drainage line over here. Hi everyone, my name is Mike and Seb is behind the camera, and you've joined us here at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy. And we're on a drainage line just behind Leopard Dam. And Leopard Dam is very, very sunny and hot around the banks, but here in the drainage line that feeds it, or rather that runs from it, it's very shady, and there are lots of these tambutis growing here. And I've plucked one of these tambuti leaves so you can see it. So tambuti is a very, very toxic plant. For those of you who don't know what a tambuti is, you can see I've plucked a piece of it, and there's a little bit of milky white latex coming out there. Can I come a bit closer for you there, Seb? Oh, no, there you go. So just on the end of this little branch here, there's a little bit of milky white latex coming out of it, and that's very toxic. So the latex from a tambuti can cause you to go blind. Not really. Well, I suppose if you've got enough of it in your eye, you might go blind, but it will definitely hurt a lot, and you can have temporary blindness. You've got to wash it out with copious amounts of water if you're not careful. Now, we can identify the leaf quite clearly because of this very scalloped shape. Do you see the edges of the leaf? It's got these rounded sort of scallops on it, just on the edge of the leaf. So that's very identifiable, and it's got like a sharp end. So it looks almost like a spear, I think. It's a nice speary, sharp end. Now, these tambutis grow in thickets, and what happens is when you go camping, it's often near a dam or whatever, and then you look for firewood to make a braai or a barbecue, and people burn the wood, and that latex, the smoke from the latex, the sap of this tree, can give you terrible headaches and stomach cramps, and it can be quite toxic. So that's often what happens. You wake up in the morning, you've got a terrible headache. It's because you've burnt tambuti wood. Now, the way you know tambuti wood is what it is because it's very pink inside, and it has a very beautiful fragrance. It actually smells great, and it's a very, very effective insect repellent, as well as, it's almost like sandalwood. If you burn the smoke and you don't have it directly close to you, it smells very, very nice. It's very, very, it smells like incense almost. Now, if you look up, I don't know if you'll be able to show them, Seb, but the younger branches on the tambuti are very pale in color. So see some of those branches over there? Very, very pale color, very, very light, smooth bark. And as they get older, they lose the smoothness and they get a very distinctive, rough, dark texture, which is very distinctive. Rosalind, some of the biggest trees found on Pridelands are in this exact area. There is a giant tree, which I believe might be a brown ivory, or it could be a... Actually, let's go and have a look at it. I don't want to drive the car in case we lose signal. But some of the biggest trees we get here will be the leadwood trees, as well as the brown ivory trees, which are towering up, and they're very slow growing. So you can see we're in a beautiful drainage line, Rosalind. It's very shady and lovely down here, and it's surrounded by tambuti trees full of their toxic latex. In fact, the tambutis also have a very cool seed and an insect that inhabits them that causes the beans from the pods to jump around. That's where the term jumping bean comes from. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Well, everybody, our afternoon plans have come true. We are at Kaiamanzi at the moment, large watering hole here up in the north of Bafosuk, and we've got elephants having a little bit of a swim. Now, I'm feeling rather jealous, in fact. I wouldn't mind going in there myself, having a little bit of a swim. Both these two elephants and a big bull who walked in front of us just before when we arrived looked very wet, so I thought we'd possibly missed it. But I think maybe they had a mud bath somewhere, or at least splashed themselves somewhere. And as they walked around and they realized they were going to be going north of this watering hole, they realized, let's just have one quick little dip before we go. You can imagine being a 5,000 kilogram animal. These two aren't the biggest bulls out, but they get up to 6,500, 7,000 kilograms. You can imagine being that heavy and then suddenly going into the water and experiencing weightlessness. There's evidence of elephants having sort of some connection or some evolutionary adaptation to the water, and their big lungs attach to their spine right there in the middle, and makes them very buoyant. So they're actually very, very good swimmers. And can you imagine just letting that weight off for a little bit? And bulls, when they are in the water, they can often have lots and lots of fun. We do tend to anthropomorphize in nature, but you actually can see elephants having fun, as humans would when we find ourselves in the ocean or in a pool playing with each other. There's genuine sorts of pleasure and glee exhibited. Many other animals you might see having a wallow or sitting in the mud or whatever it might be, they're just cooling down. They don't seem to be showing any signs of enjoyment, whereas elephants actually play. How special. Narika, I'm not actually certain. The thing with elephants is that they're not like hippos that when they get submerged deep, their nostrils go under. Elephants, you see how their trunks are just above. So they're able to submerge themselves and keep their trunks just above the water. So when you have elephants crossing major water bodies, you see it in places like the Okavango and other places in Botswana. I've seen it in Malawi, where they walk across the bottom of the river or they swim across, and they just keep that trunk elevated, and obviously that helps them with breathing. They don't have to physically hold their breath. You can see that the tip of the trunk is out most of the time, except when they do that. Isn't that wonderful? And blowing some bubbles. Okay, well, we're going to spend some more time with our elephants swimming. Who knows? They might come out soon, but it is a wonderful sight.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to And Beyond Phinda. And as you can see, the second cub has joined its brother to start feeding, and mom is set up now too. I was just saying to Gert, actually, if it weren't for this breeze that's blowing now, we would be dying of heat. Rosalind is asking, how often do cheetah hunt? And they hunt as often as they need to, so there is no set. They don't hunt daily. They don't hunt every sort of second day. They hunt when they need to, so it all varies, and it depends on what they've eaten last. So with a very full tummy, they can last for quite a number of days without eating again. They will actually gorge themselves, and as you can see now, they eat quite ferociously. They fight with each other for the best pieces of meat, but they will eat until their bellies are absolutely bursting, and then rest. As we've seen them before now, or up until now, they were resting in the shade. And as soon as there's a little gap in their tummy and that they feel they can eat a little bit more, they will come and they'll feed again. And that process will repeat itself until the carcass or the kill is finished. And once again, guys, I'm really sorry if there are any sensitive viewers. It is quite graphic. But yeah, so they will feed until their bellies are completely full, and then that will usually last them, for an adult cheetah, around 3 days before they have to start actively looking to hunt. But with the youngsters, because they are metabolizing so quickly, they're growing, they will break down a meal much, much quicker. And so mom will need to hunt and provide for the cubs on a far more regular basis than she needs to feed for herself. But, of course, having cubs, she will actually get less meat, so it sort of balances itself out. But in general, we see female cheetahs hunting a lot more when they have got cubs. So, as always, we just want to thank everyone so much for joining us every day, twice a day, from all the beautiful locations around Africa, and we thank you for continuing sending through your questions, and we're going to just continue enjoying these cheetah.
Well, look what I have here. I have chongo. Chongo is spelled C-H-O-N-G-O. Chongo is one of the MASH 6. Mind you, one died called Babayao. Babayao died. I think that is the rumor, but I'm not sure. And so Chongo is one of the 5 MASH brothers that currently actually are the pride mates for Mogoro, Paradise Pride, MASH Pride, also Rekero Pride. So they dominate almost 4 or 5 different prides. They have moved in here and looks like they might take over River Pride, because I think it is either Doa who's mating with one of the river lionesses. Look at his size. Look at the size of that mane. A perfect lion in its prime. These guys, to be precise, were born in 2014, and there were 6 of them born to different mothers. Very lucky for them, and so they formed a very formidable collision which has dominated those prides. For them to take over those prides, definitely they have to have been more than 3. And over here they are already establishing a new territory, and I think it's going to work, because there are already 3 of them within this area. And looking at their size, I don't think a lone lion stands a chance with these guys. They're so big. Remember to continue. These guys are a power to reckon. I was about to say. Look at his one eye looks like it's gone. Sorry, I cannot walk there to really confirm. And I think it's gone actually. So that's why it's called chongo, because chongo means one eye, or mono eye in Swahili. Yes, remember, this is life. It's coming from the Masai Mara, and it's a very beautiful time of day. It's quite cool and beautiful. Look at him. I can't stop looking at him. There is something about male lions and their big manes. They're hard to resist. Look at. All 5 males that are currently have been seen, they look very similar in many ways, but you have to be really careful to know who is who. Well, looks like he did feed very well, maybe yesterday. And all he does, or what they do best when they've eaten, is to just, rest. Yeah, I think this is a perfect spot for me to stay a little bit longer. Let's find out what's happening in our next location.
Well, elephants. I love spending time with elephants because they're either feeding, moving, or possibly even on the heat of the day swimming, like these gentlemen were. And they've come out of the water now, and this guy is feeding. Now, on this open area, there's a few forbs that are popping through. Elephants, as we've discussed before, are very selective feeders and will feed on the most nutrient-rich plants available. He's busy feeding on, I can't tell what he's getting there. All these little forbs popping up in the open area. That's a little acacia that he's just grabbed there. Looks like a little paper bark. Not grazing at the moment. Forbs this time of year are quite high in nitrogen, and lots of them nutrients. That is what he's feeding on. You can tell he's not really doing it with his eyes. He's smelling, looking for the fresh fruit in the bowl. There is another baby acacia. Sorry about the
Welcome back to and beyond Pinde, everyone. And we've just, well, the cub gave us the cold shoulder and turned its back on us, so we've just repositioned a little bit. Also giving you a different angle on on the poor Nyala. And finally, Mama's gotten up. And we'll see, but usually now, I mean, there's still quite a lot of meat, so there won't be any fighting amongst them. Oh, Mom decided it's too hot. She's gone straight back to the shade. I was just saying that when as the meat replenishes, the amount of fighting and the competition for the remaining meat intensifies. But for now, there's still quite a lot left. Well, almost the whole Inyala is still left. But what made me say that is that as Mom was standing above the carcass or the kill, she didn't even do anything. She was just looking down, and I think she moved her head, and the cub got a little fright and sort of ducked down and tensed its body, almost anticipating the smack from Mom, which would have been unusual because of the fact that there's still so much meat left. You can see that cub is now almost getting its whole head inside that hole that it's created, and it's pulling out chunks of meat. So H is asking, is this meat very pale for a wild animal? It might appear like that, but we've repositioned. But yeah, in terms of the way that cheetahs feed, it might make you think that the meat is quite pale, and that's only because cheetah are very neat when they feed. So lions and leopards and hyenas and wild dogs, when they've fed or where they are feeding, yes, they will drink some of the blood, but where they've been feeding, you'll see a big patch of blood. And that's because they're quite messy when they feed. But cheetah, they'll open up the carcass, and then as it's bleeding, they'll drink all of that blood. And that's actually where they get most of their fluids from. They don't have to go to water. And because of that, they've actually almost bled this Inyala out. And they've drank all the blood from that initial hole that we saw when we first got here. That's where all the majority of the blood would have come out. And then it has been sitting in the sun drying up. But yeah, that was a very good question. I think it just appeared to be light because it has been bled out and was sitting in the sun for a while. But when they get their faces in like that and they start to get into the really bloody bits, when they look at us, you'll see there'll be blood all over their face. So Ulster is asking how much will they eat in one sitting, and sure, I'm not actually too sure. So Mom, being about a 50 kilogram, between 50 and 60 kilogram animal, she can eat about 14 kilograms, or between 12, 14, maybe up to 15 kilograms of meat she can put into her stomach. For a 50 to 60 kilogram animal, that's a huge percentage of her body weight. And now these cubs are probably maybe around about 20 kilograms. So for now, they're probably getting in about 4 or 5 kilograms of meat and that Inyala that they managed to catch today is not a fully grown female. It was a female, but she was quite a young female, and she was probably herself only about 25 kilograms. So they will eat most of this meat, but in one sitting, if I had to guess, it would probably be between 500 and a kilogram in their first sitting, and then as the day goes on, as their tummy gets fuller and fuller, the smaller those portions, if I can call it portions, those portions of meat that they eat will get smaller and smaller. I think girl with spots. I think if I get the name wrong, I apologize. So it depends. So the question is, will cheetah fight off scavengers? So birds, yes, like the tawny eagle. That's why it's sitting up in the tree. It won't come down when the cheetah are around. Some vultures, well, I mean, in terms of numbers, when there's a few vultures, 5, 10, 15 starts to become a little bit too many. 20 vultures, actually around 30 vultures can chase off cheetah from their own kill. Things like jackals, if 1 or 2 jackals come in here, these 3 cheetah will definitely be able to chase them away. But if it was just the mom by herself and 2 or 3 jackals came, she would run away. But as soon as we get bigger than a jackal, we get to things like hyenas, leopards, lions, cheetah have no chance. They risk injury, and so because of that reason, they will rather run away. They will always surrender their kill because they know that that's what the predator or the scavenger is looking for. It's looking for that meat, so they will just abandon the kill as soon as they can. They will not defend it from anything. I would say anything bigger than a jackal, they will not defend their kill. You can see that whole rump leg quarter is completely finished now. See the bone hanging out. And so, as I'm sure you guys can imagine, there are a lot of people that would love to come and see these cheetah. So myself and Gert are going to be moving on to see what else we can find for you this afternoon, but we hope you enjoyed them as much as we did.
Well, here we are, and we have another antelope. This is the Fasa waterbuck, and I have one beautiful big herd here, a mixture of a few females, not actually a few, I think it's a lot of females, and a few males. It looks like it's either the young males have been tolerated by the main male, because normally it's always the dominant male and the rest are all females. Here I don't see any young ones, so it looks maybe they've been mating, and they have a gestation period of about 270 to 280 days. This is an animal that's very heavy, almost 300 kilos at the highest side for males, and they're found in sub-Saharan Africa all the way to southern Africa, a pure grazer feeding on grass, and always found in marshy areas. Got equipped with very acute senses, so it can see a predator from long distances. One thing I don't like about the Fasa waterbuck is that it secretes an oily substance that, if you're downwind, smells. And right now I'm picking it, and it's not the most pleasant smell. They smell. One day maybe you'll get to experience that. They do smell, and I think it's part of either they're sweating. They love water, and this area there is plenty of water, so they're within a place where there is water. Continue talking to us. Hashtag Wild Earth. Question and comments are very, very welcome. It's a beautiful afternoon here in the Masai Mara. I cannot ask for any better weather than what I have right now. Yeah, looks like there's an oxpecker in one of them. Bungay might pick it up. That is a lovely, lovely group. Well, I'm gonna stick here for a little bit longer because it's a beautiful herd of waterbuck.
Wildlife. As you can see, there is not feng shui happening in the sand. There is a whole story being told there, which we'll get into shortly. But before we do all of that, I need to say hello to all of you. My name is Tristan, and on camera I have Morgan this afternoon. It is very warm, and so tracking has been hot. But anyway, we're trying to find any sign of Insele. We had her this morning, and I think this is her track this afternoon. It is very warm, and so tracking has been hot. But anyway, we're trying to find any sign of Insele. We had her this morning, and I think this is her tracks that we've got here, where she's come and had a bit of a drink. So if you have a look, the track is actually in this. The little squiggly lines that you see is somebody's footprint. We're very close to a little water hole where people often stop for drinks, and so this is where somebody's had a drink stop, I think probably last night, maybe this morning. But anyway, her track is on top of people's footprints. You can see very clearly the back of the pad over here and the 4 toes that are there. She went and she drank, and then from there she's walked to my left, and she's followed a game path and then crossed the road and has gone back into the bush here. So I'm going to try and see if I can find her. It's so hot that I expect for her to be lying up. She managed to kill a scrub hare this morning, so it's not like she hasn't eaten, but I think she was just looking for some water, and then hopefully she's laid down pretty close by. But we're just going to check here. Often with these areas, as you can see on my right, there's lots of shady little spots, and those little shady spots are the perfect place for her to be lying, and so it makes it a little bit tricky at this time of the day when it's so hot. You got to kind of look under everything and hope that you get a flick of the tail, or you see little ears twitching or something like that. Otherwise, it's really, really quite tricky. So if we don't have anything coming out on the other side, then we know she's sleeping in this block, which means we'll go on foot and try and track her down like that.
Yeah, station South in Ghana.
Well, this is a male, and I wanted to share him with you. Look at those beautiful horns. You know, every herd is led by a dominant old bull, and he is the one. I think he's tolerating the younger guys because they are no threat to him. Yeah, waterbacks, you know, live up to 18 years, and they give birth every year. They give birth. And look at his tolerance to us. You know, he's not afraid. I think he's seen far too many vehicles, so he's not threatened at all. Those are a beautiful set of horns, and he's enjoying the nice green lush grass. Their eyesight is amazing, so when he stands up, even without taking a serious look, he will Sunny Jumbo, they have beautiful horns. Do they use them to defend themselves? Yes, of course. See, as an animal like a half-grown leopard has got no chance with a big male like this. With those horns, they know how to use them. Even a lion will think twice confronting this waterbuck head on. It has to come from the back and pull it down, but head on, it might have, you know, some serious resistance. So yes, they do use the horns mainly they fight each other with them to seek dominance to a harem like this of females, and they are very sharp indeed, and they're always being sharpened when they rub them onto the ground, termite mounds and logs. They get very, very sharp. You see that heavy coat? I think that's what smells. We have two different types of waterbacks in Africa. One of them is this one here. It is the Defasa waterback. And then we have the other one that's got a ring at the back. Looks like it sat on a wet toilet seat. And if we have time, I'll share that with you, how they look. Trying to find my animal Bible. Yeah, I got it. Let's see if we can find it quickly so you can see the difference. It's not much, but maybe one day you'll be able to tell somebody the difference also when I'm not there. Quickly, where are you, waterback? Well, you can continue talking to us. Hashtag Wild Earth. Questions and comments are very welcome. I'm here. I'm looking for this waterback antelope that has eluded me in my book. Or maybe somebody ripped off the page because he'll... Yes, why not? I think if you can enjoy that sight of the waterback plus the quietness that exists here. Well, I do have the waterback, but they don't give me the other one. I have only one, but I will explain how the other one looks like. I have the Defasa waterback in my book, but the common waterback, which is found in other places, not here, has got a ring at the back. Looks like it is sat on a wet toilet seat, and so it's got a ring at the back. That is the only difference. Well, I'm going to stick here with these waterbacks. I hope one of my fellow guides, maybe in the other location, will be able to share that picture. Unfortunately, I don't have the picture in my animal Bible.
Oh, good afternoon and welcome to And Beyond Ngala, where we are currently actually driving around looking for a waterbuck. This particular area, I know that there's a small herd that we see in this area on occasions, and there is quite a bit of water not too far from here. Now myself, I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we have Owen. And we are casually making our way towards the largest watering hole in this area. Now we're hoping that the hippos are there, and if we're very lucky, there might be some elephants or animals coming down to come and have a drink at this point. It is extremely hot here in the Lowveld again today, and basically everything that we've seen this far has tried to somehow fit into a patch of shade somewhere. Now, there's a bit of a breeze going, so the areas higher up is slightly cooler, and we've noticed that we found quite a bit of general game in those areas. But we are actually looking for leopard, and we checked around the riverbed earlier on. We had tracks of a young male leopard, and it was following old tracks of a female leopard in this area. But we haven't had any luck yet. So we're not going too fast. We're trying to see if there might be any tracks on the ground. And I was just admiring this area today. There's a lot of water after a rain we had just over a week and a half ago. The sand in the riverbed's been so saturated that everywhere there's these small little puddles that's forming. And because of that, there's a lot of life in and around the Timbavati riverbed at this stage. Now, normally as you approach the watering hole side, you might find a little bit more animals within this area. Sassy or fatty brat, if I'm hearing the name correctly. The temperature at the moment, they're saying 35 degrees Celsius, and it should go up to around 36 degrees Celsius, but I do think that it might even be hotter than that today. At least the breeze has picked up now, and that will start to cool things down, so hopefully that might also give the animals a little bit more energy and a chance to move about a little bit. But as we're driving around, we're carefully scanning all the big trees with shade around it. So at the bases we're looking, and we're looking up in the trees as well. But myself and Owen's going to continue towards the watering hole, and hopefully we find something there.
Well, here I am from my water box. I hope my colleague can find you that beautiful Defasa water bag. Here I have a lone elephant, and this elephant now has given me a very big interest about her. It's the third day that I've seen her, and she's always been in the water with this little calf. I'm starting to think that she's, very old, and she's using her last set of teeth, or even they're almost worn out, and that's why she's been always in the water every time I've seen her the last about 4 days. It is not very good for the calf, but the calf seems to have gotten used to it. They've been always in the water eating that soft grass. I haven't seen her out today. There is a few elephants nearby, but the last couple of times she has always been with a calf. Remember that elephants have got about 8 sets of teeth, and the tusks are 2 of the 6 pair of teeth are one set of that 6 pair of teeth. They wear them slowly as they drop frontwards. Eventually, when they wear them down, they starve to death at the age of about 60 to 70 years old. Looking at her, she looks very bony, very wrinkly, and it could be true. I'm not wishing her that, but the behavior she's been portraying tells me that. Her tusk also tells me she's an old girl who has lived and has got a lot of experience. Well, we have no shortage of elephants in the Mara. As you can see, they're always somewhere to be seen. You can go for more than half an hour without spotting a herd of elephants. And just to inform you that, according to me, I think it has become a safe haven for elephants to give birth, because we are seeing a lot of lillipants. And that is the name I have given to young elephants, lillipants, because they are very little and very cute. And we have so many of lillipants at the moment everywhere. You look, you always will see a lillipant with the big herd. I'm going to be heading towards that big herd, and you're going to see a lot of lillipants when I get there. I don't know who's there. Looks like there's a few bulls, but it's mainly females and youngsters. I think I'm going to go there. Looks very beautiful and very close to the track, so it's nice to get there. And yeah, I'll see you down there.
Welcome back to Ngala, where we have just stumbled upon quite a lively scene at the large watering hole. And you can see it's two young elephant bulls, and they are currently busy playing. And the one is actually right on top of the other one, trying to press him down and force him under the water. How awesome is that? The hippos are also in quite a peculiar mood. I think it was yesterday that one of our viewers asked me the question of whether the hippos get frustrated with the elephants. Now, over here we can see a little bit of frustration. You can see every time they come up, they're looking towards those two elephant bulls, which, by the looks of it, are having the time of their lives. Bernie Yuhu, the hippos did not chase the elephants off. In fact, the hippos are literally watching, because at this stage they know that two young elephant bulls like this, especially now that they've got a renewed energy due to the water, might occasionally have their attention wander over to nearby animals and then start to become quite playful. As we arrived, there was another young bull elephant that was running off and chasing birds. And have a look at that. That elephant actually just took mud from way down in the water and threw it on top of his head. Just have a look at the tips of the trunks out of the water. That's actually incredible to see. That one was laying completely flat on his side, trying to fit in underneath, because the one off on the right now is standing at the moment, and then right there we have another young elephant bull. And he's just drinking. It would be interesting to see if he decides to join them and go in. All right, one of the So have a look, you can see it's two young bulls. They're trying to size each other up, and in the water I'm sure feeling a little bit lighter than normal. And you often find that when they do cool down like this, they usually play by wrestling each other, pushing each other down. Now, another interesting thing is there's also quite a large herd of elephants that's just come into the area but far off, and we don't have a very good view of them at this stage. But I think that these young bulls are more than likely trailing that herd. And see, if you look in the distance there, they're a little bit hidden away behind the trees there. But those are the females with the younger ones. And there's quite a clear distance between them and the two bulls playing. One might ask, why wouldn't they want to join in and swim like the young bulls do? Might not necessarily even be that they are related. I think these bulls were probably in the area because they know that there's water and a lot of good food around now, which is the same reason that herds here. But I think these two bulls at this stage will probably not make the best of playmates to a herd of elephants stressed out by the heat with small babies. But it might be interesting. I can see, so the bulls are getting out of the water now and they're walking over in the direction that the herd of elephants are moving to as well. And I think what would be really interesting to see is if they actually walk over to the herd I believe, if I'm hearing the name correct, Sad Hannah, are large elephant bulls part of the herd? Usually they're not. They usually stem from a certain herd, but once they reach a certain age, they start to wander and they move away from the rest of the herd. They also become a little bit difficult to manage, and the females wouldn't always want them around their babies. But they've also got completely different interests, and they're looking for different foods because they have different dietary requirements as such a large animal. So they tend to form small groups like we see with these two here. And they often have an older bull that they're following, which will eventually share the knowledge of the area as the seasons change. But then they tend to trail herds like this one because there's also young females in there and they're quite curious. And that's a really, really large herd. It's difficult to tell them when they're like this. You can see the water over there is a little bit more shallow. There's also some mud. But I think they've drawn unwanted attention now. I know that direction that they're moving, there's a dry riverbed running up from there, which we can't see at this point from where we are, but I know that there's a lot of large trees and quite a dense forest section that these animals are probably gonna go look for food for. But it looks like the two bulls are heading straight for that herd. And I think in part they're also leaving because of these two heading towards them.
Well, yeah, from elephants to more elephants. I have moved closer to my elephants with all the little lillifants, and they're everywhere. It's such a beautiful setting, as you can see. I'll just give you something like 1 minute to just enjoy those two lillifants playing, and you can enjoy the quietness and the sounds that I have here. Yes, it is always nice to share with you the kind of ambience and quietness that exists in this beautiful plains of the Mara Triangle. It's that time when creatures of the night start coming out. We haven't seen any, but for sure they are out somewhere. Apart from, those elephants, we have so many, they're scattered everywhere here. That's a beautiful scene there, back-to-back elephant. In that direction, a long way behind, is where Serengeti starts. Remember that although you see these many young ones that are so happy and Crafty Stash, Jumbo, and thank you for your nice question. If an elephant was to die, would the calf survive? I think that's what you ask. Interestingly, elephants are some of the few animals that will adopt a young one. And in case there is no female in the herd that is lactating, one will start producing milk within, I think, about 48 hours for the little one. So it will not die, but it will be adapted. It's sometimes very hard for the new calf to be adapted because maybe the female has got a young one already and the young one won't tolerate to see another new one taking its milk. So there's a bit of competition to start with, but with enough patience, the new one will start getting a drink after being persistent. But it is known for other females to adopt a young one. So it won't die, it will be adapted. And that female you see back there, I hope you know that question became because she had a calf. These females are not very far, and I'm sure they're in communication using their low frequencies, so they can always head in that direction to rescue their young one. Here looks like this was one big family reunion, but right now they have split into 3 herds. It does happen every now and then for a big family to come together, related sisters to bring their offsprings and share an area within a couple of days and then eventually split and go their own way. And this looks like it over here. Looks like everybody is heading into their own direction. That is a little elephant that is staying very close to its mom. I think it's trying to beg for some milk. See that tongue touching mom? You see that? It's begging, and mom has agreed. That's how they beg. They touch the belly a few times as they walk very close behind their hind leg, and usually mom will agree. Jumbo girl with box. How many calves would a female elephant typically have in her lifetime? Well, let's do this sum together. She lives for 60 years. She gives birth every 5 years. So we are talking something about 10. She will have 10, and maybe of those 10, maybe I would say 8 will reach maturity. They do very well. So yes, she'll give birth every 5 years. They've got a long gestation period, and then they have to suckle for over 2 years, and then they have to carry. So it's about 10 calves in her lifetime. And apparently they also do give birth to twins. It has been witnessed. And also note that elephants is one of those animals that never reach menopause. So they'll give birth even at 58, 59, 60. They will give birth. Beautiful scene. Continue talking to us. Hashtag Wild Earth. Question and comments are still very welcome. Remember, this is coming live from the Masai Mara, and I have a good over maybe 40 elephants close to me, and it's so quiet still. Apart from crickets, birds, and the occasional strong wind, I hear nothing else. Well, I'll let you to enjoy that view that Bungei is giving you while I get ready to move on.
So we return here to quite a tranquil scene now since the elephants have left. There's no elephants around us anymore. You can still hear them far off in the distance. And now it's just the hippos left on their own. And you can see they've actually moved back and spread out. They're a little bit more relaxed. They're looking in different directions. And that hippo over there is actually right where those two elephant bulls were playing earlier. And we were watching this hippo here in the front. I don't know if this is her, but there was a hippo just now with a tiny baby hippo on her back. She spent quite a while laying on the mother's back, probably trying to warm up a bit in the sun. And we're really hoping that we might get another glimpse of that baby. And along the water's edge is mainly some birds, the usuals that we see here, which is the Egyptian geese. And then way over there in the distance, right behind the Egyptian geese, there's a grey heron, or there was a grey heron. You can see the two geese there. Always busy pushing each other or playing with each other, and always noisy. Okay, there's no crocodiles in this particular watering hole. In fact, we were talking about it not too long ago, and we were discussing, ever since I've come to work on Ngala, I have never seen crocodiles in this watering hole. But then again, this watering hole also dried up in 2016 during a drought, as well as 2017, which meant that if there were any crocodiles, they would have moved off and probably not returned to this area. The nearest water we know of in this particular area is actually quite large pools in the Timbavati riverbed further up into Kruger National Park. And I think that's where these hippos come from, actually. After the first rains, when the water return, you usually have a big male return, and then sometimes other males, and then eventually the females with their young. So I think with the crocodiles the same, but for the crocs, the pools in the Timbavati, some of them hold water all year round, so they don't actually have to move from where they are. Take that risk of trying to move from here when it dries out completely. It's interesting to see the way the hippo just flicks his ears down before he goes back into the water, and as soon as the one's down, the other one picks up. But I think we might sit here a little while longer and see if we get another glimpse of that baby.
Right, well, we have just found, it's not there. It's a Jacobin cuckoo. It's just flown into the top of the trees. Just zoom out there, Seb. It's there, far over there. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, it's being mobbed by something. So that's a Jacobin cuckoo that's just landed, probably one of the migrants that's arrived looking for mating opportunities and then to lay its eggs in the nest of another bird. It is a brood parasite, and literally we were about to say, there's nothing at the dam now, but something will turn up, and then this cuckoo flew into the tree. So that's really, really cool. Now, it's a Jacobin cuckoo, so it's got a snowy white underside and dark back, or black on the back. And you saw it just get mobbed very briefly by another small bird, which is probably one of the birds which is its host. So it might have been, I'm not sure, I didn't see what it was, but maybe something like a bulbul. Oh, there it is there. Oh, it's a sunbird. That looks like a Marico sunbird that's busy harassing it. Yes, you see the dark belly and the green head? It's a Marico sunbird. So, interesting. I wouldn't have thought a sunbird would have been one of the birds that would lay an egg in the nest, because it's much, much smaller, but that's awesome. There it goes. So there's that one that we just saw now was the Jacobin cuckoo. And then there are also other cuckoos that are occurring at the moment. So just calling a second ago was a Diederik's cuckoo. And there's also Klaas's cuckoo calling. But they're both stopped now. But all of these birds have arrived from Europe, and some of them not. Or just listen, maybe you'll hear it. It's calling very infrequently. Every time I speak. So the Diederik's cuckoo just goes Diederik's. And the Klaas's cuckoo says Mikey. And that's how I'm able to identify the calls. And they're amazing because they have such incredible adaptations. So the cuckoos can lay eggs very quickly. Most birds, when they lay eggs, takes them a lot of time because it's a lot of energy. It's a big thing, and to lay it is very painful, and so they make a lot of noise. Whereas cuckoos can lay an egg like that. So what they'll do is, I can't remember which species it was exactly, but one of the cuckoo species is very clever. They'll actually fly into the nest and hit the host bird, the mother, off the nest. And whilst there's confusion, it lays the egg that quickly that it flies off, and then the mother bird comes and lands in the nest again, thinking that a predator has come to steal the eggs, sees that the eggs are still there, and then settles down back on the nest without having actually noticed that there's one extra egg in the nest. It's a really, really cool adaptation that they have. Now, cuckoos are not very well thought of by a lot of people because of the fact that they lay the eggs in the nests of other birds, and their chicks will often kill or smother the host bird's chicks. But I think that's just natural selection. That's just a way they've adapted their lifestyle. Remember, a lot of their eggs get found out and get evicted, so maybe only 1 in 10 of the cuckoo's chicks, the eggs, actually makes it. But I think it's working smart, not working hard. I think it's a thing, right, Seb? I think so. But yes, the dam is very quiet. Oh, there's an elephant coming. Just behind me. I don't know if you'll be able to... My big head is in the way. I can just see the reflection of it. Here it comes down to the water. See, it's all happening. I knew that waiting at the dam was going to be a good idea. It's a very elusive elephant. It's using one single tree trunk to hide itself. But it's probably going to come and drink at the water. You can see it's absolutely still. The water is like glass. And this elephant will come down and probably dabble its trunk in the water. And then maybe, if it's incredibly hot, which it looks like it hasn't been in water for a while, it might even come into the water to have a bit of a swim. In fact, there's another... This is fantastic. Let's hope that all we see is deciding what to do. He's just got his legs sort of hovering there. That's quite a common thing elephants do when they're making a decision. Oh, it decided it did not want to go in that part of the water. It wants to go maybe to where it's a bit shallower. Here comes the second elephant, and there's even a third one. So this one looks like it's actually sprayed itself with a bit of mud already. It's a little bit wet on its sides. Maybe it went to that muddy section at the end of the dam, and now it wants to actually drink where the water is perhaps a little less muddy. Oh, no, it's time for a swim. If I was an elephant, I would be doing exactly the same thing. And now you can hear the Diederik's cuckoo calling quite clearly. I don't know if you can hear it, but let's listen. I don't know if you can hear that. Diederik. That's the Diederik's cuckoo. Bright emerald green color with white spots on the side of its head. Really, really gorgeous bird. Small, but very streamlined shape, really able to move them out. Oh, that's gorgeous. I'm glad you can all hear it. It's a very beautiful emerald green bird, and it's perfectly blending in at this time of year to the gorgeous green leaves. So many birds calling at the moment. There's the Diederik's cuckoo, white-bellied sunbirds, the splashing of the elephant. There's a few geese, Egyptian geese with their chicks also coming towards where the elephants are, just investigating. See over there. The waterhole is actually quite pleasant this afternoon. It was really, really hot earlier. And you know, this is the same waterhole where that... Oh, listen, you can hear the Jacobin cuckoo. It's calling now. So nice just to sit and listen to the sounds of the bush. Almost seems as though the geese are coming closer to the elephant because they maybe know that it's safer to be close to the elephants because they've lost 2 of their goslings already this season. I wonder if the buffalo will come down as well to add their bellows and grunts to the cacophony of sound. And the way the light from the ripples slowly twinkles on the trees on the dam wall. It's so beautiful. It's really one of those places where you can stay the whole day without even a worry or a care in the world. There is one sound which is not as pleasant as the others, and that is the sound of a mapani bee or a sweat bee that's buzzing, trying to get into my ear. No, Mr. Mapani bee, that is not a place where you can make a nest. I'm sorry. Elephant number 3 wants to come and join his 2 friends. Feels a little left out of the action. It seems like the swimming time is over. And these elephants are probably going to make their way towards where there were 2 other elephants we passed earlier, feeding in the drainage line. Or perhaps they'll stop there for a bit of a mud wallow. It's amazing to watch these creatures in the water splashing around, and then when they walk on land, so quiet. Not a sound. Beautiful silhouettes. Well, I think we might just stick around Leopard Dam a little bit longer to see what else might grace us with its presence. We have seen leopard tracks, but who knows where that secretive cat might be. Hans, I'm so glad that you found that relaxing. I mean, it really, really is. There's something about hearing animals in water or feeding or just doing any of the things that they do, throughout their day that is just so relaxing, because it just makes you think of not having cares or worries apart from just satisfying yourself. And that is so nice. What a wonderful way to spend an afternoon. Seb, wouldn't you agree? Should we just stick around here? I think we should. Well, we're not going to go anywhere. Let's let the animals come to us.
Welcome back to Ambient Pinda, everyone. And we found a leopard tortoise. And the funny thing about this leopard tortoise is that Gert and I were driving through this beautiful open grassy area where we usually come and look for cheetah. And I was just saying to Gert, yes, it would be so cool if we could see a leopard crossing this open grassy area, because the grass is so short all around us. It would be such a different view of a leopard. You're so used to seeing them in these thicker areas and trees, but in an open grassland would be completely unique. And then we came across a leopard, but it was a leopard tortoise, not a mammal leopard. And not an African leopard is what they're actually called. I'm just going to go forward a little bit. So Toby is asking what the biggest threat is to tortoises. Naturally, well, the biggest threat to them would be something like a fire. Just see him there. The biggest threat to a tortoise would be something like a fire, but in terms of predators, out here on Pinda, I mean, it's possible to get them, but we don't often see ground hornbills. But ground hornbills are probably a tortoise's worst nightmare, because they have those big, powerful beaks. They can get right into the little crevices in the shell. Lions can go for younger tortoises, and crack open that shell. I've heard of hyenas as well, but a really big leopard tortoise like this one is going to be powerful, and it's got a really hard shell, and so it will be able to withstand quite a lot. But of course, being relatively slow moving, fire is the biggest danger for them. And he just seems to be hiding now. Okay, so as he moves off into the thicker bush there, myself and Gert are going to keep moving, and we're going to send you off to another location.
From a leopard tortoise to an actual leopard. As you can see, we've got Tandy's little boy who is watching us from the shade of a little grassy thicket.
Shaggy, he's a little bit shy still. I can't see Mom anywhere here, and just his kind of way that he's moving indicates to me that Mom probably isn't close by. But so nice to see him. He's here all the time. We're kind of very close to Torchwood Camp, and it's just a matter of driving around here to find him some days. But he's a beautiful, beautiful cat, and he's got these beautiful eyes, and finding him like this and spending time with him is going to be very, very important. Going forward, he's going to get used to the fact that we're not anything to worry about. But I'm so glad we found him. We have tracks for that female, and I mean, we were tracking them and looking for them, but we just could not find where she went. We found kind of the last tracks going into a block, and we thought we'd just come check down here in case it was Tandy's tracks. And we managed to find this little guy. And he is just watching a car that's arriving. We'll start to put in a second vehicle with him now, just so that he can start to kind of learn a little bit and keep our distance from him a lot of the time, just because when we're doing this habituation process, a lot of people don't really understand the whole habituation process, but a leopard inherently is a shy animal that doesn't really like too much attention. And as a small cub, their instinct is to try and always find a place to hide. So they try and get up and move into a thicket or move to somewhere where they're a little bit more hidden, so as not to expose themselves to hyenas and lions and other leopards. And so generally, when they see a big vehicle like this that makes noise, they try and move off. But slowly over time, when they realize that we don't chase them, we don't hurt them, we don't steal food from them, they slowly kind of introduce vehicles even when he's on his own. When he's young, at like 3 months to sort of 6 months, then generally we try and leave them alone. And thing, and they're kind of a closed sighting by themselves. But as they start getting older, so it becomes important vehicles to start to slowly kind of come and see them. And you can see now he's relaxing, his whole demeanor has changed. So when we first found him, he was kind of crouching and trying to hide. Now that we've spotted him and everything is off, you can see he's kind of sitting up quite high, and he's kind of focusing on other things. He's not even watching us anymore, which is cool. All right, so we'll sit with him a little bit. Let's see if Mom comes back. I don't want to spend too long with him. Obviously, like this is a slow introduction to cars. It's not meant to pressurize him, so we'll sit with him for a little bit and just see what he gets up to.
Well, that's a good find, Tristan. You know, leopards, very lucky. Okay, we have 2 more male lions. They just appeared out of the blue. I was busy looking at the elephants, and all of a sudden, Bugay said, lions. And this looks like part of the Mash boys. I think we'll have to name them now. They could be Triangle Boys, because these are Kibogoyo, the male lion I shared with you a day ago. Had a very bad wound, just above the nose. And then this one close to me here, closest to us, lying flat out. This looks like it's Kiok, the other of the Mash 5. So currently I can say I have seen all the 4 marsh lions here. I don't know when they arrived, but it sounds like our males here in the triangle, that is Blondie, Orfang, Split Dose, Olalashe, and Kijana are in for a lot of trouble. These are 4 males that are very big. They're almost about 7 years old. They're born in 2014. I don't know which month exactly, but they are all here. It's very interesting because they rule a very big area. Their fathers were Old Barnuti and or Puppet, and they are very old now. They're about 15 years old. They are seen close to the lookout area. That is another part of the Great Amara. And so they're still alive, their fathers. And it looks like they left a very strong gene, because these are very big lions. And also they have very beautiful manes. And looks like they're continuing with the tradition of taking over huge chunks of territory. Remember, they dominate almost 5 territories, 5 different, prides: Rekero, River Pride, the Marsh, Paradise. Yeah, there are many, KF, did you say how far will the Pride be? I don't know if that's what you ask, but believe me, how far will the prides claim territory? These guys, I think this would be the end, because Rekero, from where I am, as the crow flies, I would give it a good 20 kilometers. That is almost around, 14 miles. And the marsh is the same. So at the moment, they have an area of about maybe 40 square kilometers that they are dominating. Remember, here territories are not very big because there's always food, and that's usually what determines and how big it is for pride of lion. And here, a good territory will be 10 square kilometers, but these males have traversed long distances. They have crossed the river to come and take over this area. Right now, Mugoro is in front of us, and to my left is the River Pride. So it's a huge area that they have traveled to take over this territory. I've said that this could be the edge, but who am I to say anything? Tomorrow I might see them up at Winos, and that could be, actually, could happen, because there are 4 of them. It just takes, them to walk in there, and I'm sure Olalashe and Kijana won't have no say against these 4 males. Yes, but do lions leave their native territory? Yes, they do. I tell you, these guys, if I tell you where they were born and where their fathers came from, it's very far. It's a long way that way, about 20 kilometers, and they have left it to come here. And this might not be the end of where they're going to, to take over. They might head towards the river, Mara Bridge. So I don't know how far they'll be going, but yes, they do go, they do leave their maternal territories to find new territories. And it always happens, like for example, if in the new cubs that will be born after they've mated with the river pride become males, they have no chance, even if there are 3 of them against these 4 guys. So definitely, before these guys reach the age of 10, when they're 3 years old, those males will have to leave and find new territories. So males are always leaving, and at the moment we have seen Split Nose was seen about 50 kilometers towards Mara Bridge, and now he's somewhere here. Also, Olalashe came in from the Cheli brothers, who are across the river and up towards Aitong. So it's they are walking very long distances. These males try and establish and take over new territories. I was hoping that these elephants were going to come towards them so we can have a little bit of fun. But seems like they have headed off towards the right. But there's 2 there who are having fun with the tree. What are they doing with the tree? Well, I'll leave you to enjoy that little tussle with those elephants there, and then I'm going to move on.
Well, while the elephants are playing, little Tandi's cub he's up at least. He's not really doing much. He kind of keeps staring to the south and then looks at us a little bit and is kind of a little bit sort of wary about what he wants to do. Sometimes he sits down and kind of looks at us through the grass, and then he gets a little bit more confident and stands up again. So I think he's just kind of taking in what's going on. And like I say, this is invaluable for a little leopard cub. It's just us sitting here and talking. He very, very quickly gets used to the fact that the voices of people are not something that he needs to worry about. But it's so cool to see him. I'm, in fact, very excited that we're seeing him, and I'll tell you why. Because not yesterday, the day before, I think, maybe the day before that, I can't remember where we are now, but we had Tingana walk right here, and he walked this entire drainage line south, and he was sniffing everywhere, phlegm grimacing. And as we know with Tingana, he's possibly is going to be a major threat to this particular little cub. Maybe Tandi mated with him. We certainly didn't see any evidence of that, but if he didn't, then he's going to see this cub as essentially something that needs to be killed. And so it's always when a male leopard passes through an area where you know the cub is being stashed, and we know that the little cub was here because Steve saw the cub the day before, and then obviously we're finding it now in the exact same area. It's always good to know that the male didn't find him and that he was able to kind of stay nice and safe. It's a tough world at the moment for our leopard mothers. There's a lot of instability taking place, and it's not only from a leopard point of view. The lions are not exactly the way that they used to be. Look at him creeping. So you might find that he'll walk and just trot a little bit. If he trots, we're not going to follow him. We'll just let him carry on. Like I say, the idea is to get him used to us, not to scare him. But basically what's happened is we've had lions move into different areas. It's not the same as it was. We've got hyena clans, obviously, kind of prolific at the moment. And then you've combined that with the fact that we've got so many female leopards and male leopards competing in the same area. It's really making a very difficult system for our females to be successful. So what you're finding is that Tandi, probably showing her experience more than any of the others, has really been clever. She's taken this cub and she's found this little drainage line that is just off of her kind of core of her territory. And she's keeping this little guy there and only takes him to meals every now and then. But it's a quiet place. There's not too many vehicles here. There's not too many signs of other male leopards other than Tingana and every now and then Mulawati. But even then, Mulawati's tracks are not hugely seen in this area. And so it's really, really interesting kind of to see how well she is able to manipulate the game. And we saw that probably better than ever with Kalamba when she was able to just completely fool Hukamuri day in, day out by moving Kalamba around into areas that we had never really seen her take Kalamba before. And the same seems to be happening with this little one. Since Sabui's been coming in as much as she has, since Tingana's been roaming again, Shidulu, Kalamba calling, she's just kind of shifted everything a little bit further east and seems to be once again proving what a good mother she is by raising this little one. But look, you see, You see how he's getting more confident as he walks around? So he's still a little bit slow and methodical, but he's looking at us less and less and less as he does it. It's more kind of what's ahead of him. And at this age, you're going to find that he is going to be exploring his world like this, and he's going to be hunting a lot of little things. So he's going to be hunting little lizards, francolins, and so walking like this is going to be hugely important for him to be able to learn those techniques, to be able to find food. So stuck in bed, what age? Well, I mean, depends on how Tingana goes, but I mean, Tingana seems to be the ever-living at this stage. So really to be safe, you'd have to be probably 3-4 years old and bulky enough to actually fight with Tingana. But yeah, he's got a long way to go before he'd be safe from him. Tingana is a big, bulky leopard. As you can see, this little guy is still tiny, so he's not going to be able to fight with Tingana, that's for sure, until he's much bigger. So what he's going to have to hope for is rather Tingana's condition decreases, and that will allow him a gap to be able to maybe dominate Tingana already at sort of 2.5, 3. It also depends on size, it depends on all kinds of things, but generally you're not going to find a leopard of this size even trying to engage with the male of Tingana size. What would normally happen in this situation is if he saw Tingana coming, this leopard would go as high as he could into a tree, onto branches that are very, very, very thin. And if Tingana tried to get up there, they would be too thin to support his weight. And so he'd be able to stay out of the way of this male leopard, and then Thandi would maybe come back and, they'd be able to kind of get Tingana away from there. But, yeah, it's going to be a while until that is the case. But who knows, maybe Thandi did mate with Tingana and he saw this cub now recently and he doesn't really care because he thinks it's his. I mean, we don't know what goes on a lot of the time on Torchwood, and that's what's so nice about this kind of expansion of our traverse, is we are getting a much clearer picture of where Tingana's moving, where Thandi's moving, where Klalamba's moving. We're starting to really kind of form much better territorial maps, if you want to call it that, or distribution maps for the leopards in our area over the course of the last few weeks that we've been on to Buffelshoek and Torchwood. So yeah, it's exciting times in one respect, but difficult times in another. It's going to be really, really interesting next few months, that's for sure, for all of our leopards. I think they've all got some sort of kind of challenge that they're going to have to overcome in order to survive this area. All right, I'm not sure if we're going to get another view of him. Like I said, I don't want to pressurize him too much, so we'll just see where he goes, and if we can get a clear view, we'll stay, but otherwise we'll leave him to himself.
There's just another one closer right over there. So from the leopard, part of the big five, to one of the little five, or small five, is a red-billed buffalo weaver that's just come to its nest and it's brought some nesting material, and it's busy trying to weave. I'm sure you can see there, this one trying desperately to move that stick into a position that's just right. It's amazing how dexterous they are. Just wondering, like, what does it have a plan, or is it sort of just on the wing? I'm not sure if there's a thought process that goes on here, or if it's literally just going to shove it into whatever gap it can find. Oh, that looks like it did something. Oh no, it went. Oh, look at that. It's taken the stick to the entrance of its nest and now it's bringing it inside. I wonder, how is it going to weave it? Oh, it's putting it in the roof. It's one of the rafters. Oh, not taking it outside. Doesn't like that. This is fascinating. How long will it spend on this particular stick before it decides that it's just right? Look how it's wedged the one side in behind some sticks, and now it's bending the stick to, oh, there you go. There's a hole in the roof. It's just realized it needs more sticks. It's not quite right, but check how the nest is made from like a selection of different sticks. Lots of them have got thorns on it. So I wonder if the thorns actually help not only to secure it, the thorns sticking into each other, but also maybe as a protective measure. It'd be very uncomfortable for something like a monkey to try and stick its hand in that nest to try and get the eggs. It's quite a good strategy. It's almost like a boma. We often, human beings, when we were living in a more primitive way, we would have had to use things like this, lots of sticks and branches to to encircle a homestead or a village, or even just if we were herding cattle or whatever, to protect them from the predations of the large predators or, from raiders, that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to watch how this little bird uses the same techniques. So this nest has obviously got a long way to go. It looks completely see-through to me. It's just started. Now it is a very low-hanging nest, much lower than the others, and it's on a little island, so it's pretty safe from most of the terrestrial predators. So it'd really only be other birds which would give this any trouble at all at this stage. And the buffalo weaver nest on the top, if they put lots of softer material to try and make it a bit waterproof, can become a platform nest for other birds like geese or herons, storks, or even eagles. That would get real interesting. Speaking of eagles, I can hear birds alarm calling close to the dam wall. I can't see anything yet, but it might be that one of the Wahlberg's eagles or maybe the Faroe's eagle owl is somewhere amongst the thickets where we were earlier looking at the tambuti tree. It is shouting for help. Why are you sitting there? Give me a hand. So it's just flown off now, gone in search probably for another bit of nesting material, a twig of some sort, but I wonder how long it'll take before they come back. It's very interesting to watch. I know it looks like a nest like this is built by, a dozen different individuals, not just one. So I wonder how they work together to decide who gets what space or, whatever. So it's very interesting. I wonder how many trips it takes to build a nest. It must take hundreds, I'm sure. Maybe over many weeks it would take until the nest is fully built. And, is it only members of a certain family group that have it? I think so. I think it's maybe a number of males that then make a number of holes. I think I've researched this before. I think it's a couple of males that make a whole bunch of different holes, and then females go and mate with them and then lay the eggs in those holes. So I can see the birds freaking out over there. There's something which is making them a little bit uncomfortable. Oh no, it's mating. Look, there's a buffalo weaver mating in there. I heard this in the eco-training camp earlier today, and I wondered what was causing the problem. So there's a starling there that was chasing them off. Maybe the starling has a nest somewhere in there. But the buffalo weavers were definitely trying to mate. Oh, what's that? What's that? In the screen?
Oh, there's a snake.
There's a snake. Oh, there's a snake coming right down to the... It's a black mamba. What is that? I think that's a black mamba. A bit more to the left, bit more to the left. Left, more, left. Oh, it's going far left. Wow, let me try and see. Sorry, I'm going to start the car and try and go forward. That looked like a black mamba. Yeah. Let's see, do we get another view of it? I don't know if any of you got to see that. There was a very big, long, grey-looking snake, and it looked very much like a black mamba. It was slender but very long. It's in this clump of vegetation right now. Can't see the movement yet, but look at all the birds landing there. So I saw the buffalo weaver's wings sort of flapping there, and I thought, because in the eco-training camp today, I saw buffalo weavers mating, and that was exactly what they were doing. I'm just waiting for the movement of some grass. I think I can see grass moving. I think it's right near the edge there. Just on the left edge there.
Show me on your screen.
Just over there somewhere. Yeah, I think it might be in there somewhere. That's so interesting. Wow. I was not expecting to see a snake. I heard the birds alarming, then I thought it was mating, and then it was a snake. Well spotted, Seb. So it was in a tree. So black mambas are very arboreal, very... They're always found in the trees. They're tree hunting snakes. They're looking for chameleons and birds and all sorts of other things, but always in trees. Squirrels, sometimes they find their way into squirrel nests. I'm actually wanting to get a bit closer. So I'm going to try and get closer. I want to even see if we can spot that snake somewhere in this thicket. Now we have to be careful. Black mambas are very nervous snakes, and I don't want it to freak out, but I would like to be able to just maybe get a glimpse, which would be really, really awesome. You can see the starlings sitting there, very brightly colored, but they are being very vigilant right now. What you're looking for is the grass moving. Okay, that would be an indication that the snake is moving in there somewhere, because they push their bodies up against the grass stems in order to move. You can hear the starling freaking out. So So I think that's a Cape glossy starling, and it's using its beady orange eye to try and spot that snake somewhere in there. And I don't see any movement. That snake has probably taken shelter somewhere in this, clump of thorns and grasses, and it's probably not going to come out again whilst all these birds are here. These birds are not particularly dangerous, but to something like a snake, their sharp beaks and talons and claws can scratch them and hurt them, and if they're quick enough, they can actually damage the eyes of the snake. So that would be very, very bad for the snake itself. So it's probably not going to come out again, but wow, that was spectacular. Very lucky to see. It is summertime now. There are lots of insects, lots of rodents, plenty of birds, chicks, and lots of places for the snakes to hide, and it's warm enough for them to be active. So that's why we're seeing more of them now. Oh, the bulbul's being very brave. It's actually flown straight in there. Just behind where the starling is, the bulbul flew right into that like clump of sticks. See the bulbul with its bright yellow vent, looking desperately. So all these birds don't care about each other. They're not really helping each other. It's all sort of a selfish thing where, the more of us that do this, we can keep the snake away from our nest. But if the snake was, let's say, going to eat a starling, I don't think the bulbul would particularly care. In fact, it would probably be happier that was happening. But individually, these birds could not chase the snake. But together, in a big group, they have, enough harassment to chase away that snake. It's a good opportunity for us to actually look at a bird. Oh, it's flown off now. I was going to say there's a bird which you might not have spent much time looking at. I think it was a rattling cisticola. Well, they're very noisy birds, but also quite difficult to identify unless you get them up close. What gorgeous colours. Hey, absolutely spectacular colours. I love the iridescence of the starlings. Special crystalline structures in their feathers that refract the light and allow us to see these gorgeous blues and greens and sometimes purples, depending on the species. How close those birds are to each other. Oh, I can see the grass moving in there. I don't know if that was the wing beat of the bird, the wind maybe that it created, but I definitely saw the grass moving. Wow. Well, this is exactly the same spot we saw the python about a month or so ago. In fact, 2 pythons in this area. So, the snakes and other reptiles will also like to go into water and drink water to keep cool. So perhaps that's why it's here as well. Maybe it just wanted to go and have a swim. Now it's been disturbed by all these birds. So now the snake itself won't be particularly perturbed by all the noise. The noise that the birds make is not really doing anything to the snake. The snakes don't have external ears. They only hear by vibrations. So when these birds land on the branches around the snake, then it will be able to hear them. But mostly it's the movement that frustrates the snake. Remember, that's what snakes mostly hear. When we stomp around walking towards them, they move out of our way. That's why we hardly ever see snakes, because we walk quite heavily and clumpily, and the snakes will often move out of our way before they actually get here. So that was really cool. I don't know about you guys. I think that's the first black mamba I've seen this season. I know there's supposedly one where we park our car every evening, living in the rafters at our little headquarters, but we haven't seen that one yet. Hopefully we'll see a lot more snakes from the safety of the vehicle. That was really awesome. Really enjoyed that.
Well, I've left my 2 male lions, Kibogoyo and Kiok, and I've come back to where Kichoke is, and he is patrolling the area. Looks like he's marking his newfound territory and going around making sure that he asserts his new dominance to this territory. He looks like he's very well fed. He could have fed maybe a few days ago. Yesterday, I would say. And There were some females here about 3 days ago also, and I think he's picking up the scent. They followed the same track where he's following, so I would say they are following the scent of the females. Remember, these are part of the new pride of males from the marsh that have taken over quite a huge area of the Mara Triangle. They've taken the Mogoro, then it now looks like they will take over the River Pride. This is not the one I showed you, just about 20 minutes ago. This is a different one I had showed you earlier. This is Chongo, actually, the one with the one eye. I don't know if he's going to come back because his brother is not very far from me. And I don't know if he went down the river. Just hold right there. I'm going to try and see if he's gone to the river. I don't know if he went down the river. Could be very interesting because if he went down the river, I don't know what he's trying to do. Well, we can't see him yet, but he went down somewhere there. Bunge is gonna share with you the area that he went down. Well, I can't see him. I don't know where he went. He disappeared off there. Well, we're gonna stick with that frame. Hopefully he can pop by there. Let's see what's happening in our next location.
We're still sitting with Tandi's little cub, and it's been really interesting and fascinating to watch him because he kind of walked off a little bit, then lay down, and he's actually been starting to fall asleep next to us, which has been quite interesting. You see his eyes, how they're getting heavy? Can you see that? So he's starting to get sleepy, which is like the best thing in the whole world because it means that there's a huge vote of confidence there. If he's happy to start closing his eyes and not watch us and start to feel sleepy in our presence, it means that he's starting to get comfortable that we're around, which is exactly what we're after. It's exactly what we have been hoping to achieve by spending a little bit of time with him. And so it's cool that he's allowing us to. And what's interesting also is that he was walking away from us, and then we kind of just reversed a little bit to see if we could see him. And he turned around and kind of came sort of 2-3 steps closer and then lay down again, which is wonderful. Now, a lot of you might be wondering if us staying with this cub is okay at this age. So basically what happens is in this particular sort of process is that once they reach sort of 5-6 months, there's like I say, a vehicle that starts to get put with them that can be rotated through. So different vehicles can come in, and that just gets them used to the movement of cars. It's not something that we do every day. If you think about this particular leopard, the last time he was seen, I think, was about 4 days ago. So it's not a huge amount of pressure that he's getting, but it is enough to start kind of teaching him a little bit about what we do and the fact that we're not in any way a threat to him. So it is something that has been agreed upon by all the guides and management of this area. And so we're just lucky that this afternoon no one else is really that interested in coming because of the lions that are around. Everybody seems to be fairly busy with that, and that meant that we've been allowed to have some really quality time with the cutest little face. How can you not love the face of a little leopard cub, especially Tandi's cubs? They generally have these massive ears, massive paws, her boys especially, and have a look at you with this kind of wonderment, and sometimes have a little bit of a sort of a grumpy look about them. It makes me laugh because it's just like their mom. Sometimes she looks at you and you just think to yourself, sure, if looks could kill. And her cubs often have that same look about them sometimes, particularly when they look at you like that, kind of from under their brow. They have this sort of deep kind of glance at you in many respects. But look at that, isn't that beautiful? Oh, that is so, so good. Now, in terms of spot patterns, this is a really nice angle for his left side. I know a lot of you often ask about spot patterns. So you can see that he's got a few spots there, which would make it actually, he's quite an interesting one because it's a bit of a complicated spot pattern, because you see that there's one main spot just above his whisker line on his left side, our right side of the frame. But actually there's another spot that's a little bit deeper. Now normally those spots that are a little further away are not often used in identifying, because that starts to be like the main kind of spottedness of the body. But in his case, I would say that you would probably use those two spots, and then you see he's got kind of like a bar just to the right of those two spots. So you'd probably say he's kind of a 2 on the left, and then on the right hand side he looks like he's got 2 as well. So it's a little bit difficult because he's got a single blade of grass that's covering one of the spots on his right hand side. But these are always important little images to get when they're younger, because as they get older it helps with just being able to identify them later on. So Pamela, we don't know for sure. There's been no genetic test on the dung or the feces for this particular cub, and on top of that we never saw Thandi mating. So we don't know who the father is. We suspect that it's Mulawati. Given the nature of Mulawati and the fact that he seems to roam around and be able to mate with the likes of Sabui and Kuchava and Thandi without anybody knowing, indicates that it might be him. But you never know with leopards. They can be sneaky. They can go into other territories. So it's possible that she mated with Quarantine. It's possible that she mated with Motsweri to the north, Tingana, even potentially Hukamuri, but I would be very, very surprised if that was the case. And the reason why we don't really think Tingana and Hukamuri is because both of those individuals are relaxed leopards. Now, when leopards mate, they make a lot of noise, and if they're both relaxed, then it's very easy to find them. And so that's why we think, in all likelihood, it was one of the more skittish leopards, and it could have been a lot of it on Torchwood over a period maybe when there wasn't a lot of vehicles, so no one actually checked this area very thoroughly. Nowadays, it's getting a lot more of working over because obviously we're coming out of lockdown periods, and so lodges are starting to be more active and more landowners are able to get here, as well as us being able to now traverse these areas means that we're driving around a lot more. So there's a lot more kind of movement. And so, maybe next time Mulawati mates, we'll be able to find him. But I suspect it's Mulawati. It's my strong suspicion. The look of the cub and kind of the look of Mulawati almost seems to scream that. But as we know, that's not really a way to go off of it. Sometimes we can be proven very wrong based off looks. So you'd have to wait until we can collect a scat sample from this little male, and then compare that with the scat samples that have already been collected, and also hopefully try and collect a scat sample from Mulawati to be able to match those DNA strands and then see who's kind of got what. All right, we're going to leave him. There's one other car that now wants to come, so we're going to let them make their way here. But what a special little half an hour we've had with this little guy. It's so precious, and I'm thoroughly happy to have found him this afternoon.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, and always pays to check watering holes. We've now checked
We'll head away now. Thank you.
Right, so unfortunately it sounds that we've got a few little technical difficulties, which is part and parcel of what goes on out here. Like I say, we're just trying to organize the other vehicle that wanted to come in and just tell them where it is. So if you heard me on the radio, I do apologize about that. Not much has changed here. Thandi's little one is still kind of looking at us every now and then with those eyes closing. And I actually read an article the other day, and I'm not sure if this is true. Maybe some of you that are more studious will be able to know if this is something that is actually a true thing. But they say often when cats close their eyes when looking at you, that it's a sign that they are content. So often cats seem to like do a deliberate blink almost. And that's often a sign of contentment. I don't know if it's true, but I was reading something about it the other day. It didn't seem very scientific, so I'm not really sure. But if that is the case, well then I think we've done okay with our little cub, that's for sure. Shame boy, you are very cute. It's so amazing that she's done as well as she has, Thandi, over the years. You know, when I think back about all the number of cubs that we've seen with her, and how fortunate I've been to have seen pretty much every single cub that she's produced, bar one or two that were killed before, you know, being able to see them. But in all her litters, I've pretty much seen a member of those litters. When you start to think about the kind of rigors of being a wild leopard and, you know, all the other predators, and for her to have really kind of only lost one litter in her 14 years is quite special. It just goes to show what a good mother she is, and how she's really used her experience, particularly in her last two kind of successful sets with Tamba and Kalamba. She's done an amazing job to get them to adulthood. Beach bunny, he doesn't he? But that's quite typical of most cats. I find when lions and leopards look at you, they definitely have that ability to kind of bore holes into the back of your skull. I always think they kind of analyze the deepest part of your character. That's how I always try and think of it. And they have this kind of big eyes and focus on you. It's always can be an amazing moment. I think it's as amazing as it is, it can sometimes be equally unsettling, particularly when like a big male lion or big male leopard just kind of stares at you for that brief second, and those big eyes kind of lock with your eyes. I always think that kind of makes you feel, you know, you very quickly learn that you are not as on top of the world as we as humans like to believe. We kind of makes you feel quite small when this massive cat looks at you. Now, the reason he's moving now is, I'm pretty sure, is there's some oxpeckers that are calling, and I wonder if he hasn't heard these oxpeckers and he wants to now try and kind of hide away from potential animals that will alarm call and attract attention to him. All right, so like I said, we're going to leave, we're going to let another car come in. What an absolutely incredible afternoon it's been with him so far. Welcome back, and sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody. We are with the Nkuhuma Pride here at Twin Dams, and it sounds, we came into the area because they crossed from the south, but it sounds as if while I was scratching around just east of here, that some of the adults who went off killed something very small. Elvis went to investigate and found them just eating something very small. There was only some bones left, so maybe a small dacre or something. But the noise, I mean, I heard it before, but that didn't respond. The pride didn't respond. You can see a couple of these cubs have come back from that area. It's thirsty work being a lion. A lovely reflection there. And I'm sure some of those adults will be coming back soon, but the cubs this morning were greeted by the parents with full bellies, and I'm sure they're quite grumpy about that. Because if you saw the Nkuhumas last night, they had not eaten, and they probably ate something shortly after we left them. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 females, which means probably one of the females went to go hunt. And let's count the cubs, shall we? 1. So far, I can only count 5, 6. Some noises off to the right. Contact calls. Maybe the one lioness, after being badgered by some of the youngsters, said, okay, come on, let's go get you a snack. This youngster's heard something. Now the youngster's through the bush over there. Someone's calling. Oh, it's just these soft little noises. They're contact calls, and they can obviously detect them from quite some distance, because you'll often hear them and not hear the reciprocated call, but yet the lions hear them
And obviously they find each other that way quite easily. Water thickening, they're not very happy with the encroachment of these cats around the water's edge. Okay, those guys are going to go investigate. Let's move over there, shall we? I'm going to go see where they're going to go to, and probably down into the Mawati itself. Even though the one lioness has just been gone for a few minutes, she'll probably still get a very warm reception.
So we're just waiting here to see if that snake comes out. Now, when all was said and done, the birds flew off, we tried to drive past that little thing to see if we could spot that snake, and we did. We spotted it briefly underneath the main log of that pile of sickle bush, I think that's what it is. And we just moved around the block and we came back, and we're waiting here to see if it will come out. It hasn't yet, but just there we see that big log. Its head was just poking out there. And I mean, I only saw it briefly, but it looked very much like a black mamba, so I'm pretty sure we were right on that one. But nothing as of yet. We took our eyes off it for about 20 seconds, so it may well have left, but I don't think so. So we'll see if it comes up. But in the meantime, we're still just enjoying the dam and how quiet it is and how peaceful it is here. Apparently there's a hyena somewhere in the vicinity. We were told by one of the other game viewers, as well as elephants that we saw earlier. So there's stuff happening around the dam. As you can see, it's beautiful right now. The sun is just setting. It's got that beautiful golden glow and everything. And that's where we've seen a number of snakes along that dam wall over there now. And then there's obviously the gorgeous dam, still like glass. It was very gusty earlier today, but it's gotten very nice and quiet now. Who knows what else might pop its head our way. We still haven't seen. There's the Godzilla nests that we discovered the other day. We looked at them and we asked everyone what do they think that they see. I said, well, that looks like Godzilla, waving his arms around. And buffalo herd have not come back down to drink, which I'm surprised about. At this time of day by now they should have. There's a few buffalo weavers coming in there, just silhouetted. Those nests are pretty well constructed already. I don't think there's going to be any building happening with those ones. Chris, that's a good question, and I'm not sure how long they take. I mean, it definitely takes weeks, I think, to build a nest that size, if not longer. You can see this one is still doing some renovations here and there. It's probably adding another layer onto what was already a very extensive nest. Now, a lot of the weavers, the smaller weave nests, can take just a few days. Something like a red-headed weaver can build 3 or 4 nests in a few weeks. But this is a much bigger nest, built in conjunction with other birds, so it may take many weeks before this one is fully constructed. But that's a good point. That other bird that you can see in the top right of the screen, that's dove. And doves make a nest, Chris, that is literally just half a dozen sticks piled on top of each other in the fork of a tree. So that nest probably takes about 5 seconds to build. It's really funny. You can see lots of birds flying around. You see quailias, we've got palm swifts flying about, the red-billed buffalo weavers. So all of these are interesting. So the palm swifts that are flying around that you see every now and again pass by as a silhouette in the screen, they make a very interesting nest. Now, what they actually do is they take their own saliva and feathers, and they glue a hammock on the underside of a palm leaf, and then they lay their eggs in that. And they actually glue their eggs in, I believe, so the eggs can't fall out when the wind is blowing and the leaves are rustling. So that's a very interesting nest. Some birds make amazing nests. You can see this bird's actually calling right now. Every now and again you see its throat puffs up like that. It's a Cape turtle dove. You can hear it saying, oh, I don't know what I said in dove language, but it immediately stopped calling. I'm sorry if I offended you. It was not my intention. I wonder if this dove is getting some tips. It heard me maybe talking about how average its nest is. Oh, there's a kingfisher that's caught something just to our left here. Oh, it's feeding. It's going to feed another one. Wow, that's cool. Sorry, everyone, for the very big jump there, but there's another kingfisher just in there. Just go straight there. You can look on the screen where I'm pointing there, Seb. Just there. It's very difficult to spot, but there's a youngster there. It's either a youngster or a female. It looks like a young one. It just got fed something. So the other adult came with a lizard, I believe, just landed there, and then fed it to this one. So this is either a young one, or maybe it's a courtship ritual. This could be a female that's being courted by a male in the hopes that he might mate, or she might mate with him. That was interesting. And this same kingfisher was part of the mobbing party that first tried to chase that snake away when we first saw it. Just enjoying the meal that it just ate. So often after they eat a meal, you see them rubbing their bills against the sticks to clean them if there was any sort of slimy, sticky residue left over. Gosh, today is a day of all sorts of little interesting things. Sometimes that makes for me the best safaris. Often if I'm with guests and I've spent days and days and we've seen all the big five and we've had an amazing big game sightings, sometimes it's nice to do something like this. Just sit at a dam the whole afternoon and watch these little stories unfold around us. It looks like it might go and fly back to where it came from. It wasn't sitting in this branch originally. It was sitting a bit further into the bushes. It's turned its back to us now. It's done with the camera. Thanks very much, brown-hooded kingfisher. I hope you enjoyed your meal. It looked like a lizard. Some sort of a small lizard. Small for me, but for the bird it was actually a rather large meal. It was probably about half the length of its whole body. It would be the equivalent of me eating, I don't know, like a 2-foot-long hot dog. I could do a 2-foot-long hot dog right now. Delicious. I'm very jealous of this bird. There's that little snake sanctuary in there. I'll never look at this clump of sticks again the same way, because when we were driving past it so we could have a little glimpse there, Seb did say to me, watch out that it doesn't strike you. And I had mentioned that the black mamba is quite a nervous snake, and if you drive too close to it or give it a fright, it can rear its body up almost, I think, more than half the length. So if it is a 3-meter long snake, it could potentially stand up 1.5 meters and basically look you in the eye. And, they are very quick to strike. They're very nervous snakes, and they've got incredibly potent venom. It's not to say that if it bit someone, it would immediately envenomate you, but it has the potential to. And if that happened and it bit you somewhere like the head or something, you'd be in serious trouble, because it's a neurotoxin. It affects the nervous system. So you've got to be real careful. Many of the trackers that I've worked with, it's been the only thing they're afraid of was black mambas. Well, let's see if it comes out.
A black mamba isn't present, you've got to be careful. But, exciting news. We heard a leopard soaring as we were leaving Tandi's cub, and I think we found Kuchava. I just want to double check, because I've just seen her tail, but you'll see her kind of walking behind us. The only not good news about it is she is very close to where Tandi's cub is. I initially thought it was Tandi, but just something didn't look right from behind. I don't know, we'll check now that we're in front. I'm sure she's going to come back to the road. She's just scent marking there. She should turn and come back our way. Yeah, just got to see. Indeed, it's Kuchava. I've been looking for you, girl. You've been evading us of late. This is special because we haven't seen her in ages. I don't know when the last sighting of her was. I don't even know what's happening with her cub. But like I say, it's interesting because she is very close to where Tandi's cub is. It's not very close. I mean, it's not a good thing to have a leopard, obviously an adult female, close to another adult female's cubs. But the good news in this situation is she's moving southwards. So she's moving away from the cub, which is good. The last thing we want is for her to go towards Tandi's little one. So happy days. It's another leopard-filled afternoon, that's for sure. I mean, like I say, we've had so many leopards in the last few weeks. It's been absolutely ridiculous. The Northern Sabi Sands has been on fire, so to speak. Like I say, we've seen so many individuals. We've been absolutely spoilt. I think she's going to head towards Chitwa, though. That's what it looks like. And I wonder, part of me is wondering why she's calling. Female leopards aren't huge callers. They typically are not the biggest fans of making a lot of noise. They normally kind of operate in silence. So I'm not 100% sure why she's calling. Maybe it's because she's smelling Tandi in this area and she's just reasserting that this is the boundary for her. But awesome to see. All right, well, we'll follow her. We'll see what she gets up to. Hopefully she takes us to her little one. It'll be really cool to see her little male. It's been a long time since we've seen him.
So from a female leopard to two pretty large female hyenas. And as you can see, faces are covered in blood, and the one at the back's feeding off what is a impala ram carcass. Just have a look at that. You can hear the crunching of the skin. It's trying to loosen up the skin. It'll eat parts of the skin as well, but trying to get to the meat on the neck. Now this impala was actually killed by a female leopard, which is still somewhere around in the area. But at this point we're not seeing her, so we're going to go look for her in a little while. But for now I thought, let's have a look here, because this is a very, very interesting scene. Just have a look at them with their heads up every now and again, even the one feeding. There's two little ones in the back there. And I saw they were being chased off. Looks like the one's got a part of something. And there's another hyena also that's constantly growling a little bit further away from the rest of the group. You can see that one there. And have a look, that one's got blood all over her backside. Now she looks like a pretty large, very old hyena. And she's already had something to eat. So at this stage, I'm still not too sure exactly what the hierarchy is here. Whether the one feeding is actually the higher ranked female or not. But you can see they'll chase off the young ones from the carcass every now and again. And I suspect the reason why these hyenas are so alert at this point is because that there might be more hyenas around. You can also hear far in the distance some impalas calling. And that might actually be the leopard moving off. Sure, just look at that. It's sheer power. Lifted that entire chest and neck area of that impala as if it's nothing. You can see she's chewing on the side of her jaw. And it looks like she's trying to get a good angle to get a good chunk of meat off, but she's actually using the very sharp, all the carnassials which for hyena is quite different from what lions and leopards have. And they've got a lot of power in their jaw. And hopefully we might even get to see her crunch some of those bones. And just look at that face. And looking at the backside of this hyena, I see quite a lot of scars. You can see right up on the rump. She has lost quite a bit of fur. Now that might be from fights with others. Chris, yes, this impala is from the leopard. So this impala got killed by a female leopard, which, funnily enough, was they found walking around calling out to her cubs, which was in the area. She found one, the young male, and they moved all the way back here. And as they arrived, the hyenas came in and stole it, unfortunately, which is an occurrence that happens more often than one might think in the bushveld. And the interesting thing is, with only a few hyenas like this around, an impala like that easily disappears within no time. You can hear the bones crushing now. You can see the sun's also starting to set. It's just gone behind the mountains in the distance, so it is getting a little bit darker now. What's interesting about this is that hyena busy feeding at the moment. She doesn't look like the oldest one out of the three larger ones, but there is a chance that she might actually be the higher ranked female in this case, and maybe that is why the others are hanging back and letting her feed. You can see the young ones hanging around. They're quite eager to get in on that as well, but they know for now they have to wait. One of the youngsters still have looks like a small bone, maybe one of the bones from the legs. But I think we might move on and see if we can get a quick glimpse of that female leopard, if she's still around.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We've caught up with one of the bigger cubs. One's born in June of last year, Ridge-Nose, and it's eating a head. So if you don't like that sort of thing, look away, but there's not too much to see. It's basically a head and a spinal cord. That's all that's left, but it is smelling quite bad. It might also be my wheel. Might have driven in some lion scat, so very hard to tell exactly what he's eating. But his brother came over to investigate and got a hiding. That one there. Lions are very interesting in that regard. Regardless of who has got a piece, no other lion is ever able to take it from them. They act quite aggressively towards what they have. Often when they make a kill, they'll take off bits and pieces and move off a leg, whatever it might be, and no one else is allowed that. And they will defend it vigorously. Saw the Nkuhumas when I first arrived here with the sub-adults that were sort of cubs at the time. they would fight over tortoises like that. And as soon as one let it out of its reach for a moment, they got snapped up by a fellow. So it's trying to break into the skull. See, still not fully developed teeth. This youngster was a year in June. It was the end of June. You can hear the bones crunching. They're attempting to crunch.
Nile's about 7,000.
You can see that this is fresh. It's still quite wet. Little blood on the lips. So I'm almost certain we've driven in something. The problem with driving in lion scat, everyone, is it follows you wherever you go.
Strongest cat bites a jaguar.
Hello, Christine. After a year and a half to 2 years, you officially, a cub, has transferred over to a sub-adult. So normally lions, 13 months to 15 months, you would sort of say, is the, they now will survive. Anywhere before that, they're still dependent on mum, they're still dependent on the adults for hunting and for survival. Up to 11 months, they start getting involved in the hunting, but they are by no means dependent or independent enough to do so for themselves. So anywhere from 13 to 15 months, you can start to expect a youngster to start becoming a sub-adult and really starting to contribute towards the pride, especially up until about 2 years. The youngsters then are very, very efficient. Well, they've still got lots to learn, but they then become pride members. And then they actually participate. So I'm not sure what actually happened with whatever killed this. The one lioness seemed to be missing, and this one boy was missing. So I don't think he's eaten that entire deka. I think it's a deka on his own. I think it was help, but we missed it, so we're not too sure. And there they're all watching. See the varied ages. The adults are completely flat, digesting, and the cubs are going, when are we going to eat? Lions everywhere. Very cool.
Right, are we all good? Grab a drink. Thanks, buddy. Enjoy.
Just one of the vehicles leaving. Looks like the brain is starting to leak. It's getting in there now. There's the spinal cord. Pizza lions, leopards, hyenas are all scavengers, so they're very okay with eating very, very rotten food. It's kind of how they've evolved. Cheetah and wild dog are well known for their fresh meat diet. They don't do carcasses that are older than a few hours, a few days. But lions, they've got no problem, as well as leopards. As we know, leopards will stash their food. So, the tummy gets used to it after a period of time. So it doesn't upset them, although when they do eat high meat-rich diets, they do have, especially like a buffalo, they do get very, very sort of wet, blood-filled scat. But I've been with a pride that was eating a giraffe that was about a week old, and I can tell everybody it is not a pleasant sight. They get to the point where they just give up on something that's too fetid. But it's amazing, though, how hyenas still do so. But hyenas across the world, in Europe for a start, that's how they evolved. They evolved feeding on carcasses left behind by animals such as saber-toothed tigers. And so that's how they filled their niche, was by feeding on dead and decaying material. So their gut digestive system is like a battery acid. They're able to cope with most things. But you can still see the movement in this carcass. There's still a lot of movement. Pliability is still very wet. So we actually, as I said, we heard something. I heard something, but it obviously wasn't enough impetus to encourage the entire pride to move over. And the likes of a small duiker or a steenbok wouldn't have gone too far. There you can kind of see the head now. All the soft bits have been broken. So indeed, they've got very strong constitution in their stomach. And the old saying goes, there's no greater scavenger than a big male lion. He'll steal from anybody. He's big enough and strong enough to do so. Mr. Black Dragon, the largest pride I've seen in real life was a pride of 24 called the Mountain Pride. They used to occur in the Singita Kruger National Park property, the Lubombo property. That pride of lions was unbelievable. I arrived there and all their youngsters were already two years old. So we got to see them go through meat like it was nobody's business. They used to kill again and again. They were very good at killing buffalo bulls and very good at killing fully grown giraffe. But the pride slowly dwindled, and I think it still exists today, but it's broken up quite a bit. They had 9 sub-adult males that by the time I left were approaching 3.5, 4 years of age, and they just used to dominate. Eventually the pride females were moving around hunting, and then the boys would come in and they'd just leave them to go hunt again, because there was no point trying to compete against 9 big hungry boys who had learnt from an early age to compete and were very aggressive around the feeding zone. I developed an ID kit for them that I had to change weekly, almost daily, due to the fact that they kept changing their facial appearance from all the cuts and scratches and marks. Eventually one of them got cornered on its own by a group of 5 males from the south, and he got killed and then eaten by hyenas. It's a very sad thing to be involved with. Obviously one male lion against a male lion is a battle on its own, but 5 versus 1. If you've ever seen anything like it, there's no niceties at all. No niceties at all. They surround them. They bite their haunches, their back, eventually crippling the individual. It's competition at its fiercest. So, but in places like Savuti in northern Botswana, where habitat has been changed quite a lot due to huge elephant numbers, the prides there are called mega prides. They occur in the region of 35, 40 lions, and that is because they hunt elephant. The elephant have changed the environment so much that in times of the year you don't find any other general game there, only elephant. And so the prides have stayed, their territories are there, and so they try to isolate sub-adult elephants from the herds, which they bring down and actually kill. Quite something to behold.
Well, we're still with Kuchava. We're just trying to get ourselves into a slightly better position because I'm hoping she's going to climb a fallen over tree for us. And if she does, it's going to be pretty spectacular. Come on, girl, go up the tree for us. She might just scent mark and rub on it a little bit. You see how she's going to sniff underneath? Perfectly kind of naturally framed. Oh, look at that. So that's just her making sure that if any other leopard walks here, they know it's her tree. A little spray of urine. And then off she goes. She is magnificent. I love the way she looks because I have a very soft spot for her because of her father. My father was a male called Mvula, and he was an individual that spent quite a lot of time in this area. It was one of the sort of first big male leopards that I spent a lot of time with, and he was magnificent. He had these beautiful kind of aqua blue eyes, much like what she's got, and she's got very similar features to him. And so whenever I see her, it just brings back all these good memories of this male leopard that was, you know, so good to us in so many respects and gave us so many amazing sightings. Just going to reposition quickly, just because we've got this tree in our way. She's going to walk nice and out in the open. She's about to cross south into Chitwa. She's only about 100 meters north of the boundary at this stage. So I'm sure she's going to head in that direction. There's a quarry coming up that she often likes to be at. It's one of the places where I've been checking for her the last few days, or last few weeks, and trying to see if we can find her. But there we go. I think she's gotten to the point now where she's not, we haven't heard her call since we've been with her, but I don't know if it was maybe, like I say, she picked up the scent of Thandi. I mean, she was literally about 100 meters to the south of that cub at one point. And so maybe she was just sawing because she's picking up the smell of another female leopard, and from there then decided to kind of start moving southwards, and is now more on a hunting situation, particularly because the light's starting to change. So now maybe she's going to look for any sign of a potential meal. It's been interesting watching her. Every time birds shout at her, she stops immediately. Sometimes she even lies down, and then as soon as the birds stop, then she goes again, which is generally indicative of a leopard that's trying to start hunting, and move around. I'll go forward a bit. You can just see her face poking out there. So I suspect that she's just in a kind of pattern of trying to see what's around, see if she can maybe potentially find something like a little duiker or steenbok or something like that. I'm actually going to go around because it is very, very thick where she is, and there's a road right here, which is going to be far, far easier for us, and we're going to get a far better view of her in many, many respects. So there we go. She should pop out straight in front of us. I'm just trying to see where she is now. Oh, there she is there. So she's going to go forward a little bit. She's just straight through these black monkey oranges on my right-hand side. But she'll make her way kind of roughly in our direction, which will be nice. Just see her moving to the left there. It's amazing how these are animals of habit. You know, the first time I ever saw Kushava here was probably about 3 years ago, walking this exact route that you're seeing right now. There's a little termite mound up ahead of us in a big tree. I've seen her on that mound countless times before. So it's like they have these routes that they like to take and places that they like to walk. And once you start figuring that out, it then starts to become a lot easier to find a lot of these leopards. Obviously they can change every now and then and kind of snooker you, but for the most part they're very, very much creatures of habit. Oh, she's done us a dirty and is stuck in the thicket. All right, well, we'll stay with her. We'll see if we can get another really nice view of her. I'm sure she's going to come out of this little thicket shortly.
And we were just lucky enough to catch a view of this leopard ourselves. So have a look, you can see she's snarling. And in the direction that she's looking at her young male cub, which is a little bit further off to the right. Now she can't see him at this point, actually, which is really funny. But she's going to see him soon enough. Here we go. And she looks slightly irritated by him because he is about to follow her. So let's have a look and see what happens. looks like he's actually gone after something. I'm not sure what exactly. There's a little erosion gully there, and there's probably a lot of stuff moving in there. You can see he's in a playful mood, and Mum, just having lost her hard worked for impala, is probably not in the best of moods. You can see he's busy stalking her, actually. You can see she's not, she really doesn't want to play. Now within this area, I'm sure that there's actually 3 leopards. This young male's sister must be somewhere around as well, and I know that he's probably looking for her. And the mother was looking for both earlier, but she's been spending a lot of time away from them lately, and the 2 of them also, they've been moving, split up from each other. They haven't really been sticking together, which is not unusual for leopards at this age. Have a look, you can see his tail is held up high, white tip going, makes himself quite apparent. The mother kind of just wants to move off into that dry riverbed and disappear. I think she knows that she's probably going to have to go look for another one. Oh, it's amazing. They become really difficult to spot. Oh, she's actually coming back. That's quite interesting. Oh, no, that's the young male, actually. So we are just about to switch over to the infrared, or we just have. Because we don't use a spotlight on these animals after dark. Just because of the fact that their eyes are quite sensitive. And I think we're going to move a little bit closer to see if we can get a better view for in case they disappear down into that riverbed. And it looks like the young male spooked a scrub hare from its resting place. Ooh. At this stage, every moving little thing draws his attention, and he's obviously walking with his mother now, so his confidence is quite high. I didn't see where she went, but she might have already gone down into that dry riverbed. You can see, it looks like he's looking for her at this stage. His head's held high to have a better view. He's also picking up his pace. His tail's tip's just gone down. Here we go, we can hear the mother now. Now that's a little bit of a tricky spot. We're going to try move forward to see if we might get one more glimpse up ahead. But I think from here, the mother might move off leave these two within this area and go off to try and hunt again, actually. I'm just having a look. At this point I can't see anything. We can just hear some noises, so let's just That was absolutely amazing to see that bit of interaction between the mother and the young one. Doesn't really look like the mother is too pleased to have him around, even though she actually went to go fetch him earlier to bring him to the carcass that she had. But you can see it goes to show the solitary nature of these animals. Even though they're dependent on each other, at some points they do tend to move away from each other when it's unnecessary to be together. So I'd like to thank all our viewers that tuned in this afternoon, and join us again for our safari tomorrow morning.
My favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex